What was that, Carly? Did you say don't start recording yet? Is that what you said?
I said I knew you were going to stitch me.
So for those who are listening, Carly just had to walk through the maze of technical equipment that we've set up in this room, carrying her chair because somehow she didn't have one. Not quite sure how that works.
Because we had guests over and they needed a chair.
So you're so povo uni student. And by the way, your fly's undone.
Why is it still on me?
Yes, your fly was undone and the camera was on you the whole time. And
Brilliant.
you talk about stitching you up. I didn't even have to do that. That was you. That was all you. Gosh.
Wow, this is great.
Yeah, so you're so povo uni student that you have to go and sabotage your own set to get chairs for guests.
Yes.
How many guests were there? Like one?
One.
Yeah, thought so.
Get that off me. There. Put this up.
Well, let's go to the wide shot because that one. There we go. So episode 32.
Is it 32?
Episode 32. Yeah. That's the one.
Excellent.
We are up to episode 32. You know, people are going to complain about the gap in between the 3 and the 2. They're going to be like, my OCD can't handle it. You know, I used to think I had OCD. It turns out I have CDO. It's like OCD, but it's in alphabetical order. Yeah, it's better. It's the superior one.
The
you know.
dad jokes.
Yeah, just keep on coming.
Choose a
Well,
thing.
before I do that, do you notice anything different about me?
That you have
No,
lines on the table.
No. We'll get to that. We'll get to I'm going to take drugs on the show, but we'll get to that. No, do you notice anything different about me? I have rotated from there to there. And if we go to my camera, see, something's been really bothering me whenever we're both on screen at the same time. And what I realized was because you're in the correct orientation to your camera and I was in the reverse orientation, I was on the wrong side of my lens. When we were both on screen at the same time, it didn't look like we were looking at each other. It looked like it felt like we were both facing off into the distance somewhere. And I realized I need to rotate my chair a little bit and that should fix the problem. So
I never noticed, nor did I care.
Well, no, I mean, you're not exactly a caring person. I think we've established that. Yes, in order to cope with the next 2.5, 3, 4, 10, who knows how many hours that I'm going to have to endure a conversation with you, I'm going to just take some drugs on the show.
Excellent. Are you sick again?
I'm not sick. I'm just sick of you. No, I am. I'm burning the candle at both ends. Actually, we'll talk about this in a minute. There's this whole August 31st protest. And I've been embroiled in it against my will.
Yes.
And I'm working on a video to help explain all of that. And I have been working very long days the last couple of days. I literally made a video yesterday that I have decided I cannot release and I now need to completely remake from scratch. And so I have a headache.
Why can't you release it? Did you make claims?
No, not at all. Everything I said was true. It's not constructive.
Okay.
And I try, even under duress, when people are misusing my name and my image and doing things that I think are not right.
Yep.
I try to respond in a way that is still constructive.
Well, that protest has now got Abby Chatfield talking about it, which
Well, that's the best advertising you can ask for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I was like, the whole Streisand effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my usual combination of ibuprofen and paracetamol. You know, they used to call this paraceta until your mum took some. She says. She won't even give me the dignity of a proper laugh. Now, that's a sophisticated your mum joke.
I need something to make me be able to tolerate you.
I'm proud of that. That is a sophisticated your mum joke.
Yeah, sure.
I did well.
I actually am preparing a video right now. You know how I've been doing those reels?
Exposing how bad my jokes are?
That, but also saying how wokeness, for lack of a better definition, has robbed us of 10 years of art and creativity. And that whether that's comedy, movies, music. And when I say, it's not to say that there aren't independents doing stuff. Of course there are. Sure. But, they are deliberately locked out of the music industry because of, nefarious means.
It's a closed community. I'm going to die if this heater stays on.
Really?
Is that your objective? To have me just melt into a puddle slowly like a wax
The house was
candle?
14 degrees when I walked in.
Well, it's 40 degrees now.
No, it's not. It is not. I can ask your dad to turn it down.
Well, okay. What I can do is I'll step off camera and I will gracefully remove my outer layer of clothing and see how I go.
No, you're going to get naked.
No.
You just exposed me.
No. Hang on. Oh, I better take this off before I destroy the set.
Well, while you're doing that, I will
Pick a word.
Oh, see, look what he does. He stitches me up and then he's off camera
don't want you to be jealous.
Oh. All right, ready? P. We've already done P's, I feel like.
I know what P means. I use the word regularly.
Postulate.
Postulate. That is to basically propose a hypothesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I know that word.
Yeah.
I want something like austere.
Well, austere, we know what that means as well.
Here we go. Ooh.
Can't
I can't even pronounce it. Yeah, braggadocio. Braggadocio?
Braggadocio. Yeah.
Braggadocio.
Yeah.
Is that Italian?
Well, I mean, it's essentially it's bragging, bravado, ego, sort of loud egoism.
Braggadocio.
Braggadocio.
Yeah. Do you want to hear the sentence?
Sure. These are classic.
Eric claims he is a consummate wine connoisseur, but it's just braggadocio.
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 Again, not a great sentence to illustrate the word.
No. Oh, wow. What's this one above it? Baudelize?
Ooh, okay, that's better because I don't know that one.
To remove obscenity, violence, and other inappropriate content from a novel, play, or story so it make it more appropriate for a younger reader.
Well, you mean like what the Karen is doing to the internet?
Yeah, baudelized. Baudelized.
Merci. Merci.
Don't trust the dyslexic with pronunciation.
Baudelarise.
Baudelarise?
Yes,
Baudelarise?
according to the pronunciation here, it's Baudelarise.
Don't we say Bowder, not Boda?
Well, I have never heard of that word before.
Me neither.
That is quite... wow, I'm really glad you did not pick Brobdingningian. Halfway down the page. Brobdingningian. Brobdingningian.
Brogdingnangian. Brogdinangian. Describe a thing or person of enormous
Like the word for it. Yeah.
Brogdininian.
That is amazing. All right, no, we're going with the other one. Bowdelicious.
Brogadocio?
No,
Bowdelarize.
Bowdelarize, yeah, to bowdelize. to basically make suitable for infants or younger audiences.
Yes,
Right.
Bowdelarize.
Bowdelarize.
I find with a lot of these words, my mouth doesn't go over them very well. They're like,
No, that's there's some tough words in that on that page.
Bowdelarize.
Yeah.
Where would you ever see these words? Some of them are...
in a book like that. That's about the only place.
Like we've got another one, blandishments. Have you heard of blandishments?
Blandishments. No.
Compliments rendered primary to influence and gain favour with the person you are praising. Blandishments.
So like flattery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these words, their meanings overlap with other words that we do use, and that's why they've fallen into disuse. They are somewhat superfluous, although purists would argue, oh no, they have a specific nuance that's particularly whatever. And that's probably true, but it's not useful enough for us to have remembered the words.
I find that a lot with academic papers that I'm reading. It's just superfluous fluff.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, just get to the point.
Yeah.
What's your point?
Yeah.
To the point where if it's a 60-page paper, I'll put it into ChatGPT and be like, summarize it for me. And then I go, is this worth me reading? Yes or no? Nah.
Yeah.
You know?
So I had someone try to impress me when I was a teenager. They were using the sentence, what are you attempting to insinuate with your bombastic allegations? And they were convinced that no one could possibly know what it meant. And it was a group, like one of those council-run holiday programs, and it was all ego amongst the sort of the older-than-me teenagers who were all, of dating age and all the rest of it. And I was one of the youngest people on the entire trip, and I was the homeschooler, and I was the outsider in every possible way. Got picked on a fair bit. Actually, probably the most bullying that I've ever received in my life was in that week. And so she brought that sentence to me. What are you attempting to insinuate with your bombastic allegations? And I just looked at her and went, it means, what am I trying to say with these outrageous accusations? And she's her face kind of dropped.
She's like, damn it.
And then she just moved on like it hadn't happened.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Do you know what I did today? I called Jacinta Allen a disgrace to her face.
Oh, that's a good day. That's a good.
It felt good to do it.
Okay, hang on. So, like, did you have to?
This is my good news.
Did you break into a house first? Like, how in the world?
I did. Fair
face to
game.
face?
I had my machete. I was dressed in my Nike tech
Had
vest.
you removed the packaging?
I had.
That's important. Okay. Well,
I actually, my intention was to maim her. So, because that's that's the
It
precedent.
seems to be the thing. It's the done thing
so
now.
you're not really holding machete unless you're cutting someone's hand off.
We are being facetious.
This is a
people.
joke.
We are being facetious. So what actually happened?
So today I was on the steps of Parliament talking with David Limbrick to the press
Yes,
about
of course.
Castle Law.
Yes, I interviewed him the other day about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we were on what they call the doorstop, which is the back entrance of Parliament, and all the press were there, and they were very nice to me.
Oh, lovely.
And they were even asking me how I spell my name and things like that.
Was your favourite journalist there?
No.
Oh, okay. That's a shame.
I wish he was.
Yeah.
We will meet again. And I will be so smug.
Anyway, moving on. All right, so what happened?
So, Jacinta Allen and her government tried to co-opt our press conference.
Really?
And ended up trying to have one on the steps of Parliament, so around the front.
Yes.
And so she knew that we were having press at 9:15, and she scheduled her press conference also for 9:15.
Yeah.
So, which means the press are like, well, it's the premiere, we got to go. And then they were like, oh no, we've got 2 minutes.
Yeah, we'll
Get
stay.
this done.
Yeah.
And so everyone was there, Channel 9, Channel 7,
Amazing.
Herald Sun.
Amazing.
And Heidi Murphy, actually, I've already popped it. She's already popped it up on thingy. So this is me.
Hey, there you go. Back doors of Parliament. Nice.
So I don't know what will get put in the press.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're kind to me, but we'll soon find out.
Look, at this point, the public are on your side. You're on the right side of history on this one. And to be fair, the media coverage thus far has been pretty positive.
And it's been very favourable to the victims as opposed to the government. So I think they've learned a lesson, journalists.
Yeah. I think the good ones are sitting there going, actually, I didn't quite get that right. They might not agree with people like you and I.
Yeah.
But I think the good ones recognise, we didn't get that right. There was a better way to have handled that.
Well, interestingly, this is some niche content for you, but Pete Evans has popped up in my X feed. I didn't realise he still had an X.
Yeah.
And
He's got quite a few X's, I think.
yeah,
He's
but this was him.
sorry, but
So
no, nothing.
oh, fuck! This is tedious.
I aim to please.
We need to take the
I
bowderly out of this podcast.
I haven't succeeded in pleasing yet, but I aim to please.
Did I even say the word right?
No, you did not.
I can't say
Bowdlerize.
Bowdlerize. Bowdlerize. I need to learn to enunciate.
Yeah, it's that is a word though. That's not you. That's a tricky word.
Yeah, I am actually taking elocution lessons.
Oh, I say.
Yes.
You've gone to finishing school.
Well, I'd like to speak clearer and better because I plan to do a lot of public speaking coming forward.
Yeah.
And I'm good at conversational, but
Before we get to back to Pete Evans, because I have completely derailed
Yes, you
that
have.
conversation, we need to come back to it. That's one of the greatest gifts my dad gave me. He was in radio when I was growing up, radio and television, and he insisted that we were not allowed to speak like Australians.
yes.
He absolutely stomped that out immediately anytime he heard it. And it was a tremendous gift, and I've learned how to articulate. And sure, it's not perfect. There's other things that could be improved, and I've worked on it over the years. There's still more work to be done. But I have the ability to articulate, wrap my mouth around complicated words, and that largely comes from my dad being like, no, you don't speak Australian.
No,
You're Australian.
you're Australian.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before. I have the weird accent, Australian
Yeah.
and American.
Yeah.
And it's not as bad. It's nowhere near as bad now, but it used to be horrendous.
But people hear people like you and people like me, which we have the accents we have for wildly different reasons. But people make all sorts of assumptions. I've had people jump in my comments saying, oh, it's all right for you to say that. You're private school privileged, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I left primary school in grade 3 and I never went back. Don't try and sit here and tell me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Pete Evans.
Okay, so Pete Evans, who got absolutely destroyed by the media.
Yep.
This is Pete here.
Yep.
And he shared this, and I'd forgotten about this story, so I just realised that this was on screen as I was Googling. So this is the big hit piece they did on him when he was trying to talk about carnivore diet before it was cool.
Yep.
And obviously they call him Paleo Pete. And, he was just really advocating for
Paleo's different to carnivore.
Yeah, so carnivore is no carbohydrates, no
Yeah.
vegetables.
Yeah.
I think you can have a handful of fruit.
Yeah. Paleo is
Paleo is just no grains.
And it's also largely uncooked. Like it's
No. Paleo
it
is
not?
normal.
Okay,
It's mostly keto. Paleo is basically keto.
Okay. Yep.
The thing with paleo is no legumes, no grains, no processed foods,
Yep.
no chemicals, no artificial sweeteners, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
They're very difficult. So when I was paleo, this CrossFit time, was actually really hard because we didn't have half of the things that we had now. Like
when you're in the cult.
Yeah. Like coconut aminos, for example, is a substitute for soy sauce because obviously soy is GMO and bad for your hormones. So you had coconut aminos, and do you know how hard they were to find at the time?
I've no idea because I've never tried.
Yeah.
And I will never find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we just tell one story?
No. Tangent. All right.
Okay.
Where you go?
So this was the very first hit piece on Pete Evans, and it was done by a reporter called Ben McCormack. Does that ring a bell? Ben McCormack.
Why? Why does that ring a bell?
You might know this. He was charged with possessing child pornography a few years ago.
Yes.
And he got off on a good behaviour bond.
Yes, of course.
But would you believe it? After having been caught once and being getting off with a slap on the wrist, he was getting
off. Was he's into that too?
He is getting off with 65 charges of child pornography.
Again.
Just recently, last week.
Right.
So Ben McCormack is back in the news because he is the worst of the worst. He is am I allowed to say kitty fiddler? Will YouTube allow this?
Well, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay, and so hang on. Is he accused of? I mean, not that it matters, but is it he had material on his computer or he did things to people? Because those are two different.
So, a former current affair journalist, Ben McCormack, has been charged with dozens of child abuse material offences as well as breaching his child protection reporting obligations.
Yeah. McCormack
was arrested over the weekend and charged with 65 counts of using a carriage service to transmit child abuse material in Queensland. It is alleged this offending took place over several months last year from a home in Oxley and Brisbane South. The 51-year-old has also been charged with 4 other offences in relation to breaching his obligations as a reportable offender under the state's child protection laws. It is alleged he gave false and misleading information to the state registrar about a carriage service start date. It's also alleged that he has failed to comply with reporting conditions in relation to his digital devices and his social networking site use.
He didn't appear when the matter was briefly mentioned in the Brisbane Magistrates Court on Monday. So hang on. So he was remanded in custody and the case will return to court next month. Okay. So he hasn't gotten off again,
No.
But he has been caught
65 charges is decent.
And second time around. Like, I mean, not that there should be much leniency for the first offence for this sort of thing either, but second time around, come on, guys. Like
In the wood chipper you go.
Well, yeah. So no, kitty fiddler I think would be technically incorrect, but certainly,
Watch is the kitty fiddling.
Pedophile, yes.
I just watched a story. So this week, I'm not going to tell you the story that you think I'm going to say. Relax. I've been going down like the true.
What story did I think she was going to? Now I want to know.
When I told you downstairs.
Oh yeah, please let's leave that for a
Now everyone's
podcast
like,
in 5
"Wait,
years' time.
What was Carly looking at?
No,
So I get sick of looking at the news. I get sick of looking at YouTube stuff, and I've gone down some true crime podcasts.
Oh yeah, because that's just for a bit of light entertainment.
light entertainment.
Something that just gives you a bit of a relief from the darkness of the modern world that we inhabit.
I just like to make sure that the feds watching me are like, yeah, she is sinister.
Yeah,
This chick
don't
is
mess with
fucked
her.
up.
She knows how to make a body disappear. Yeah.
Wait, wasn't there a decapitation in Victoria today?
Well, today, I don't know. What do you know that the rest of us don't? I think it happened yesterday.
Anyway, no one knows what we're talking about.
No.
So because we're jumping over all the stories.
That's what we do best.
So it was a story about the gay couple in the US who are now in jail for 100 years because of child porn.
Yeah.
I had heard the story and I'd only heard the surface level of it.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary about it. It was one of the most sophisticated carriage service pedophiles, Cayman Islands, bank accounts, Bitcoin, dark web. Like, it was incredibly sophisticated.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, how do you even learn these things?
Oh, look, in terms of being able to transact on Bitcoin, dark web, onion routers, that sort of stuff, using Tails if you really want to go right down that path, that's relatively easy to learn. You can literally
speaking from experience.
You can learn it just from looking at YouTube tutorials on the open web.
Yeah.
You can learn how to do this stuff. But ultimately, these things are just tools. There are people who would use the exact same technologies for the purpose of, for example, surviving a collapsing currency in Venezuela. And I know people that have done that, living their life on Bitcoin, transacting on the dark web, all that sort of stuff, just because they simply cannot survive under the rules and the restrictions of the Venezuelan government. But what's going to happen here in Australia with the under-16s ban and other things is a lot more people are going to start to look into those technologies.
Yeah.
And most of those people are going to use them for legitimate purposes. But there will be a proportion of people that are going to sit there and go, well, now that I know how all of that works actually, there's some little dark things that have been ticking away in the back of my head that I might now follow up on because I feel like I can now.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, by stigmatizing or putting up barriers for the legitimate use of social media and so forth, sort of in the open, so to speak, we are unfortunately going to drive a lot more people towards that end of things. And for the vast majority of people, that won't be an issue, but there will be a percentage of people who are going to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And once they're in there and they start to have that belief in their own anonymity, which isn't real, by the way, it's harder to figure out who you are. It's not that they can't. But once they start to have that belief in their own anonymity, then there are going to be a percentage of people that are going to take advantage of that in ways that they should not.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up the story really quickly so you guys can see. This is them. Georgian couple who sexually abused 2 boys in adopted house of horrors. So not only was it sophisticated because they were creating the material and then selling it. So gay couple, they had somehow managed to there was a lot of people involved in this case. They were somehow allowed to legally adopt. They jumped through some weird hoops. And then they had a doctor who was prescribing basically sedatives and so that the boys were sedated during the sessions. They had all these like blue lights in the bedroom so the cameras could pick up the footage and the cameras were built into the eye of a dinosaur teddy.
Yeah, wow.
And there were leather straps built into the beds.
I don't really want the details.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, shit goes on in this world that we don't know
Horrific
about.
people, they're in prison for a long time. Unfortunately, there's a lot more.
Do you know why I brought up the whole Pete Evans thing? Now we're going to come
now
full
we're going to
circle.
come all, Roy is going to be trying to make a segment out of this and he's going to be tearing his hair out. He's like, what is this segment about? How do I cut this up into something meaningful? Would you please stay on topic?
Where does this story go? What is she talking about? This was the Ben McCormick. He was a well-known journalist for a current affair, and it just turns out that maybe the people who are reporting on criminals who are allegedly criminals aren't the criminals really because the criminals are behind the microphone. I'm just saying.
Can be.
Weird things have happened.
Without a doubt. Well, yeah. And thankfully, I mean, some of these people get unmasked, and that's fantastic, but we also know that a lot of them don't. And
like Jimmy Savile.
Well, yeah, Jimmy Savile, and a lot of people in positions of power right now are being protected, for example, by the decision not to release further information about about Epstein's associations and so forth. And if you believe that he was only procuring girls for his own purposes, then I've got a bridge to sell you. He certainly was crook himself, but also he was running a ring.
Do you know what's really interesting is I was saying this to G last night. Why is there so much talk about pedophilia? I feel like every story is about pedophilia at the moment.
Okay, well, I got to chalk one up to the full-blown conspiracy theorists here, and I was not on board this when I sort of first came across it.
The world's run by pedophiles.
Yeah. I mean...
Evidently, it looks as though it is.
That is a much less outlandish statement now than what it sounded when I first heard it 20 years ago.
Yeah. I just cannot believe how much... It's every story. Child porn in a childcare. This is such a dark segment. Sorry, guys.
Well, hey, we're starting with all the good news. And I just posted to my socials the segment from a previous episode of the Oddcast where we talked about the fact that Jacinta Allen is basically saying, no, we're not going to reform the working with children's check laws and so forth. There is just
why would you?
There's this incredible apathy and disinterest in actually doing something about it. I'm not alleging that she's involved in anything in particular, but I am going to say that she's got a tremendously apathetic response to what should be something that demands a response.
Well, even this chick has been back in the news. The Malka Leifer, she's the headmistress at a Jewish school.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Who abused the women, and she's reoffended in prison.
Yeah.
And they had to extradite her out of Israel, didn't they?
I don't remember her story.
Yeah, she fled.
Yeah, I don't remember her story. But can we just reflect on the fact that if you can't keep drugs, weapons, or sex crimes out of prisons, there's something very, very wrong with the way we're running this state when it comes to law and order and crime. And there is a case for the wood chipper eventually.
Yeah. Have we talked about this on this podcast yet, about the Australian judge? Have I told this story yet?
The one who went on holidays. We told it on the Monday Night Live.
Oh, I didn't bring up the story though, did I?
I don't know that you brought up any images or anything to do with it.
Now.
But yes, essentially, I mean, yet another, a former judge lecturing in university puts child porn up on the screen. His students see it, and rightly it gets reported, all the rest of it. He's found to have an enormous amount of such material, and he's been bailed and allowed to go on a very expensive European holiday because it was
It was
very
very expensive. So for those of you who think we're talking shit, this is true. This literally happened last week. So former judge accused of possessing child abuse material is allowed to go on a luxury overseas holiday. So I'm going to read the story.
And can I just say, sometimes accused of means, look,
It's alleged.
We'll have to wait and see, like, who knows where the truth is going to fall.
Investigation.
In this case, there are eyewitnesses who have publicly come forward and said he put it on the screen when there were dozens or however many people sitting in the lecture theatre. It's not like an outlandish accusation from 40 years ago.
So his name is Justice Alan Bolton. He's 74, and he also has an Order of Australia medal.
Soon to be just Alan rather than Justice Alan AO.
He is a Melbourne academic and former Fair Work Commission Deputy President. And he's going to be allowed to travel overseas on an expensive business trip after being charged with possessing child abuse material. So it's a business trip. What kind of business are we doing?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of questions there. Now, to be fair, bail should be given by default in cases where there isn't a reasonable fear that they're going to reoffend or
Flee the country.
that they're a flight risk. Approving people to travel overseas whilst being prosecuted for charges that could very well see them spend the rest of their life in prison, that seems to me not to be a flight risk. That appears to me to be a flight.
Yes. It appears to me that he probably will not come back to this country.
Look, in a very perverse way, it would speak well of him if he did. Right? You'd actually go, all right, mate. Yeah, I respect that. But I genuinely, the whole time he's outside of Australia, what's going through his head?
Yeah, 100%.
Honestly.
He's going to either be found washed up on a beach somewhere in Greece or...
See, this would not surprise me at all. He just goes to Switzerland, says, assisted dying. Thank you very much. You know?
Yeah. There's something sus with this.
Yep.
But he faced Melbourne Magistrates Court remotely on Thursday, dressed in a suit and tie, where his defence lawyer, Holly Baxter, argued against bail conditions that would have prevented him from leaving the country. This is the bit. This is the bit that will just drive you mad.
Just scroll up a little bit more so people can read. There we go.
Baxter said her client had travelled overseas and returned home in May while the investigation was underway, and banning him from travel would mean he would be unable to go on a business trip to Europe that he'd booked last month. A serious amount of money has been spent on that trip. Baxter said her client would willingly provide police with the itinerary and flight details. She noted Bolton had no previous criminal history.
Can we pause here? The timeline laid out in this article. This is why I love reading the news, because the journalists write this stuff and then clearly don't perceive what they've written. The timeline laid out here. The client travelled overseas and returned home in May while the investigation was underway. Okay, so the investigation was underway in May or prior to May. Okay? Then he booked a trip a month ago. Well, this is news from late July? So he booked this trip in June. So he booked this trip after he knew the investigation was underway.
Yes.
Right? So you're being investigated for incredibly serious crimes that you know are a slam dunk because you put the pictures up on the screen in front of a room full of people. And you go, you know what I should do is book a really expensive business trip overseas to happen while I'm still under investigation.
Business.
Right? There's no red flags here. There's no, okay, I get it. He booked it last year. Maybe you've got an argument.
He and his wife are going on some Alaskan cruise or something.
Maybe at that point you stand up in court and go, Your Honour, here's the situation. Even then, I think it's completely unreasonable to let him go. But he booked it after he knew he was under investigation. I'm sorry, that doesn't fly.
This just stinks
of
corruption. Magistrate Brett Sonnet agreed to allow Bolton to travel overseas, denying the prosecution's request, telling the court he had needed to take Bolton's age and lack of criminal history into account. Sonnet did impose some bail conditions, including that Bolton live at no more than 2 undisclosed addresses and not interfere with prosecution witnesses.
So he's got 2 houses as well.
So police interviewed him and seized his electronic devices during a search of his Middle Park home in February.
Okay, in February.
Yeah.
Okay, so he knew he was under investigation in February.
Yeah.
He booked the trip in June. And the judge is like, oh, no, we can't expect him to stay in Australia while he's being investigated for criminal child pornography. Yeah.
So there's a couple of charges. So court documents released to the press showed Bolton was allegedly in possession of child abuse material on a storage device on August the 30th, 2024. So this is last year. He's also charged with possessing child abuse material in Melbourne on February the 5th, 2025. Yeah. Monash University has confirmed the 74-year-old had worked at the university but was suspended immediately and removed from all teaching duties after the February incident. Blah, blah, blah. There's a statement there. Bolton is also a former senior deputy president of the Fair Work Commission and graduated from the University of Sydney before being appointed to the first legal officer of the Australian Council of Trade Unions in 1979.
Oh, ACTU. We're going to be talking about them a little bit later.
Yes, I know. And he received an Order of Australia medal in 2002 for distinguished service to industrial arbitration and labour relations.
Well, I note the paragraph above that one. He also worked with the International Labour Organization, so basically he's a borderline commie, in the Philippines, Indonesia and Timor-Leste, helping to draft new modern labour laws. Yeah, well, he's cut from a certain cloth, isn't he?
Oh, he ain't coming back. No way. So that should absolutely infuriate every single person watching this.
Yep.
You should be absolutely outraged.
The only circumstances under which he should have been allowed to go would be if he agreed that he was going to go to Switzerland and do assisted dying or turn up dead somewhere and just save everyone the cost and the paperwork. That would be the only circumstances under which he should have been allowed overseas.
I want to know, obviously he's got mates in the legal system.
Well, of course he has. I mean, he's a former
course,
judge.
yeah. So, I don't know who's the judge that he faced. This Brett Sonnet. Are they mates?
Let's steer well away from of any suggestion of any specific or individual corruption. But it is a club, and you and I are not in it. And it's the same thing as we talk about with former ministers of the government. A former defence minister awards billions of dollars in contracts and then gets looked after with board positions when they retire from politics. Well, you might say, well, why would they look after the guy who's retiring? He can't award them any more contracts because it sends a message to the next guy who's taking his place. Hey, buddy, you do the same thing, you get the same thing. Yeah. It's not actually the reward is there to keep the grift going with the next generation. And judges looking after judges, it's not necessarily because there's any individual corruption going on, but it is a signal of, hey, we are a club and we look after each other.
Yeah. It just stinks. I love how you're very...
careful?
Yes. Politically correct.
Well, I say, actually, when you listen to what I say some things that are very, very strong and not at all politically correct, but I say them in a way that has thus far kept me from any defamation lawsuits and the like.
Meanwhile, I'm just like... This is why I need elocution lessons.
Yeah, as well.
Well, yes. So that story just... sickened me to my core.
As it should.
Yeah.
As it should. And it's one thing to know that these people walk among us. We know that already. It's another thing entirely to see the justice system when these people are discovered, which we know is quite rare. Relative to how many of them there are, the ones that get found are relatively rare. They work very hard to try and avoid being found. Yet when they get found, the justice system goes very, very easy on them, time and time again.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really disheartening. It's the same with the violent crime in Melbourne, etc. We know violent criminals exist. We know that thieves exist. We know that car thieves exist. But when we see them get caught and then the justice system just goes so incredibly soft, slaps them on the wrist with a marshmallow, that's really disheartening, and that's why we are where we are and why you're doing what you're doing with the castle laws, etc.
Yeah, well, not to bring up the story from downstairs, but that's actually kind of how I ended up on that story. I'm not going to tell the story because it's horrific, but if you guys are interested, it's called the Colt family, C-O-L-T.
Not the so when I was asked by Carly, do you know the Colt family, like Colt, Henry Colt, the revolver dude? God made man, Henry Colt made them all equal. No, not that family. Look up the Australian Colt family. Different family.
They are Australia's most inbred family. 5 generations of inbreeding.
And then let's move on. Yes.
No. The reason I brought it up is because when the Child Protective Services became aware of this and it was all investigated, obviously they could only remove the children who are underage.
Right.
And it was so prolific and built into the family that the family fought against their own charges and they all just basically got slaps on the wrists.
Yeah.
And it was actually an American podcast that brought this story to my attention, and this happened in 2012, so it's not that long ago.
Not that long. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, these people are probably all rotting in prison. They're not.
Yeah.
They're as you were.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard the podcast, but I can see how that would happen in the sense that if they're not willing to testify against each other, and if they've all got charges against them, they're not required to testify against each other because that then becomes testifying against themselves.
Yeah.
And if none of them wants to actually proceed with any charges against anyone else, then yeah, I mean, the justice system ends up with kind of nothing to go on except for anything that was done when they were minors. But again, if no one's willing to testify about anything, then they really can't.
Yeah.
It gets very difficult for them to prove anything.
Well, this is a story, just so you guys know I'm not bullshitting you. It happened, 11 years ago. I had never heard of this story. I would have thought this would have been everywhere. I did not know about it.
It did make the news, obviously, but yeah.
Not as much. This is the only article I could really find about
right.
it.
Okay.
There's a lot of podcasts and stuff about it that are American.
Yeah.
But just reading this, I'm not going to tell you about the crimes. They're just absolutely outrageous. Just use your imagination, and it's 1,000 times worse than your imagination. But yeah, they got away with it basically. Yeah. And from what I understand, allegedly, the children who were removed have now, since they're adults, been able to make their way back and are living as they were. And
some people are really messed up.
Yeah, the reason I bring this up is because we hear these horrific stories and logic and common sense just never seems to come into the equation. I understand how the law works. Whoever has the better argument wins. It's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
But how have we become so derailed in modern civilization that these things are happening? We know they're terrible. We all frown upon them. And yet the law basically is like, depends who you know, shake hands in the right places and out you go, you're fine.
Well, but I don't think it was a shake hands in the right places thing in the case of this family.
I think this was more of like, I don't know what to fucking do with it.
Well, it was a case of if they're not willing to testify against and press charges against each other, then the state's hands really are tied. And actually, I have to be the bad guy. That's actually a good thing. We shouldn't have situations. We have situations where the state can press charges even if the victim of the crime doesn't want to. And I don't think that's appropriate. Because the state is then saying, oh, but you've committed a crime against the state. Well, sorry, if there wasn't a crime against a person, then there wasn't a crime against the state. You can't be a separate entity and say, oh, we've been aggrieved. Who's the we? Who is it? It's got to be a person. It's got to come down to a flesh and blood human being. So there's a reason why a lot of these protections exist. And I would rather, as horrific as this story is, and certainly the actions against kids and people who are underage, definitely, that's a different story. I'm talking about what's happened between the adults and the adults of the family going back to living that way together. I would rather live in a world where people get away with doing things that I find disgusting than live in a world where people end up in prison for the wrong reasons or for nothing. So I would rather there be too many protections in place, as frustrating as that can be, than to live in a world where, the government can just go, oh, well, you don't want to prosecute each other, but we're just going to lock you up because we say what you did was wrong. Well, I agree what they did was wrong. But I don't want to live in a world where the government has that kind of arbitrary justice power. It has to be limited. It has to be defined. It has to have rules around how it gets exercised. And that's going to mean that sometimes people who shouldn't get off do.
I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I feel this is so morally repugnant that, that's...
For a story we said we weren't going to talk about, we've talked about it a lot.
Well, I did, just to close out the segment for Roy, we talked about like how...
Hey Roy, we love you.
all the pedophilia's coming to the forefront. I just Googled because it seems to be prolific. And I'm like, is that because all of a sudden we're just talking about it or it is actually prolific?
Yeah.
Because the problem with all the people like, the tunnels and the pedophiles... That's hyperbole, and I'm not saying it's not happening, but when you speak about it in that outlandish way, it makes people not take you seriously.
And once you lay down a specific and you're wrong, which we know that there have been some high-profile cases where they've said this thing and it's not been the case specifically, unfortunately, it discredits the whole thing, not just the specific instance that you've argued for. And so some people, I think, have been right in the bigger picture, but have been wrong on the details and have ended up discrediting the entire thing.
That's a bit like Alex Jones.
Well, that's one of the people I had in mind. Yeah.
But I literally typed in, I'm like, based on data, not speculation, what is the estimate of or how rampant is pedophilia? And these are the numbers. And I was floored when I heard this. So among Australian men aged 18 plus, 15.1% have reported sexual feelings towards individuals under 18, and 9.4% admitted to engaging in a form of interaction with a minor.
Okay, hold up. Who's asking the question and who are they asking? Because no one's ever knocked on my door and said, hey, we're just doing a pedophilia survey today. Would you like to answer some questions?
This is this is data. I don't like this is real data.
Yeah, okay, but there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics.
Yeah.
That seems like an absolutely outlandish number to me.
Well, and here's another one. So Bravehearts, which is a charity around this, based on data, 1 in 35 men are attracted to children. And now children is anyone under 18, so not necessarily.
Okay, yeah.
Because pedophilia is only for people under 5, I believe.
I'm not sure the exact threshold, but this is why data matters so much.
Yeah.
Because if you put a bunch of pictures in front of me, of let's say, young women, and you mixed in a 17-year-old, am I gonna spot the difference? And let's say you were hiding what the real intent of the survey was. You go, okay, we're just doing a profile on whatever psychological attraction, blah blah blah. Can you just rank these photographs? Right? And I go, okay, yeah, I'm going to put that one over in the attractive category.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now we found another one, right? There can be an enormous amount of deception. This is why when I do studies or when I do videos and I talk about studies, most of the time I've read the entire study. I have at least read the entire summary, but most of the time I've read the entire summary because the method matters. And so often these studies will be done. So an advocacy group that wants to help victims of pedophilia, the children as they grow up. Well, that's a noble, worthy cause. They want funding. How do you get funding? You make the problem seem as big as possible.
Well, I was just pulling this up from the article, and this is basically from the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Abuse. So that's where a lot of this data has come from.
So the method still matters, though. And without that, I mean, those numbers, gosh, that
well,
seems
even
ridiculous
worse,
to me.
1 in 35, which would mean, where was the number? Scroll back up, is 269,000 men in Australia would be estimated to be male pedophiles, which that just seems a gargantuan number to me.
Yeah, and then what they're saying is attracted to someone under the age of 18. That's their definition.
No, this is pedophilia. So this is...
but are they distinguishing that
Yes.
in the data
Yes.
and in the studies that they did?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
that number seems absolutely absurd.
That's what I mean. I was like, what?
No, if I was doing a video and I came across claims like that, I would be wanting to find where are the actual sources? Have they been published? Have they been peer reviewed and cross-examined and criticised? And am I able to read the precise methodology, or are they only giving me the results? Because that just seems too far outside. Now, one thing that we do know, we've talked about this before, if you want to get pedophiles out of childcare centres, stop employing men.
Yes.
The number one indicator for risk of someone being a pedophile is being male. That's very clear. That's not that there's no women, but the number is vanishingly small in comparison. That much is definitely true. But that seems like an outlandish number.
I thought that too. And for this reason, I am now terrified because I literally asked that to ChatGPT. I'm like, my Google research, I don't like what the government's going to know about me.
Well, I did think I heard a knock. It's
after my little stint at Parliament too.
Yes, exactly.
But they have to decide who gets me first. Is it the state or is it the feds?
Well, what they do is they put one on one side and one on the other, and one says lie down and put your hands on your head, and the other one says stay standing up and put your hands in the air, and if you disobey one, they shoot you. That's how it goes down in the US.
Excellent.
And so basically, they can one of them gets to shoot you because you weren't obeying their instructions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. And if you don't believe me, by the way, that's a real thing. That happens.
We need to air this out, just lighten this just a little.
You reckon, or do we just go this is the depression episode?
I reckon people have just heard half of this, but I don't think I can watch the rest of this podcast. I'm done. What's your good news, sir?
Oh, good news. Oh, well,
at the 40-minute mark.
Yes. Well, let's begin, shall we? Let's start the podcast. My good news is that dryer that I repaired.
It works?
It works. It works great. It works so well it keeps tripping the circuit breaker on the power board that it's plugged into. Yeah, that's another story. So I've now got a new problem to investigate, but it's a different problem, which means I'm still chalking that up as a win.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
There you go. Well done.
Man win.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are not Randy from South Park.
No, I'm glad you completed that sentence. I am not.
Anyway, great, everyone. Well done.
Yeah,
good
that's
news.
my good news. What's your good news?
My good news was my Parliament thing.
Well, that is pretty good news. And the fact that you got to say to Jacinta that she's a disgrace to her face is excellent. That is wonderful
feel
news.
good.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of topics to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Well, I'm going to start by reminding myself what the word of the day is.
Yeah, bowdlerize. I can't say it.
Well, what we do need to do is bowdlerize this podcast. Because at the moment we're not even going to get rated. We're going to be like X, off the internet, not even suitable for the dark web. That's where we're headed.
To be
right
fair,
now.
I was only talking about news articles.
Well, yeah, but some of them from 11 years ago that you just had to like scoop them all up with an earth moving machine and be like, here, everybody, here's what I found from the last decade. You're welcome.
Well, you're welcome because none of you knew that story and now you do.
Did I need to though?
Well, I don't know. Like I have this morbid curiosity into human behavior. I should have been a psychologist.
Morbid being the operative word.
Yeah.
Psychologists are the people that are usually the most messed up.
They are indeed. I can tell you. Did I tell you in COVID, I was going to go back to uni.
Right.
And do a psychology degree. More so just so I could speak to the things I'm currently speaking about, but with some kind of qualification. But the first 5 sessions in the lecture theatres.
Yeah.
This is peak 2021, by the way.
Yeah.
Welcome to country, pronouns, the whole thing. And this is at Deakin University. I was like, no, I cannot.
Yep. And
We spent 20 minutes.
that whole world is just awash with all of that nonsense.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm not putting myself through this. And I withdrew.
I think wisely. That world is a really messed up world. Sorry, I'm getting my team are working in the Philippines right now. I'm getting a lot of messages, so I'm just trying to keep up with that.
Well, I thought we could start with this story, which is just broken the other day. And here is the story. This is on brand for Victoria, guys. Police find a man's head on a spike in a targeted double murder in Mount Waverley, Melbourne. So this is all over the news today.
So tell me this story a little bit, because all I knew was 2 bodies found dead in Mount Waverley. I've been busy doing my own thing that we're going to talk about in a minute, and now I arrive here and find out there's heads on spikes, and we've gone back to Genghis Khan.
Yeah, it's dark. So last night we just heard about the double murder, and it turns out the woman was pregnant.
So does that make it a triple murder, or was the double already including the child?
No, so her husband as well. So,
Okay, so
her
yeah, so
partner,
3.
Andrew, who was 50,
Yeah.
Anthea, who was 39 and 5 months pregnant, were both murdered. And what's particularly heinous about this is just how brutal the murder was. So I believe a neighbour discovered it, and
wow, that'll stay with you.
the man's head was decapitated and put on a spike. I don't know what they mean by put on a spike. Is that like a fence post or?
So are they indicating that they know who was responsible? Like
Yes.
something like that indicates that there is more than just we broke into your house and we're stealing your car. Like this is they're sending a message.
It was a homeless man, apparently. So the man police allege killed a couple in Melbourne South East has faced court for the first time. It had been reported the male victim was decapitated. Ross Judd, 34, appeared in Melbourne Magistrates Court for a brief administrative hearing shortly before 11 a.m. on Wednesday, flanked by 2 guards. He stumbled as he entered the court. I beg your pardon. Yeah, I'm all good. It's a complex crime scene with a significant amount of DNA evidence. The officer told the court there would be a delay caused by the autopsies needed. God, this is just fucked. His lawyer noted that the accused man's first time in custody and requested he be seen by a custody nurse for mental health issues. You think?
Yeah.
You think?
I mean, that's... Yeah. I mean, talk about needing castle law. Now, I don't know, maybe that person was known to them and they allowed him into the home. Maybe he broke in. I guess it's too soon for us to know that, or do we?
Aerial vision of the house showed external walls spray painted with graffiti, including the words, "Enough is enough, karma has no menu, betrayal, unpredictable, inevitable, and meat is murder."
Wow, that is a very messed up person.
I mean, believe this is
vegan, which does explain a lot, but...
Well, he doesn't look vegan. This is the...
True, that's fair. Gosh.
So...
Yep, okay. Can I just really, really suggest that you have a good think about what you would do if someone came into your home with unkind thoughts, shall we say?
Well, so this is the whole thing about castle law, right? And so far we've got 1,500, which is pretty good for a government position.
It's not a bad launch.
Yeah,
it
at
needs
this
to grow,
point.
but it's not a bad launch.
And so, guys, I'm going to pull it up on screen. If you are Victorian, you have to be Victorian. You can't sign this if you live interstate, so Topher can't sign it.
Not anymore.
This is the petition. It'll be in the show notes. You can go and click on it. This is to amend the self-defense laws so that you will not be a target of Victoria Police should you defend yourself during a home invasion. This is following the precedent in the UK where there's special provisions for self-defense in a person's home. Because as it sounds at the moment, like maybe let's talk about this. In Victoria, those laws are very ambiguous. So it implies that you need to have been attacked first.
Well, so that's the case law side of it. So the legislation itself, as I understand it, actually says you can use reasonable force.
Yeah.
And so then a judge has to sit there and go, well, was this force reasonable or not? And a case comes before them and they go, was this reasonable? And what's happened is the case law has developed in a direction that basically says if you use something better than what they've brought with them, then you've premeditated self-defense. This is no longer you acting in just self-defense in the moment. This is premeditated, and that's assault in its own
So if they
right.
brought a pocket knife, let's say a Swiss Army knife, and you retaliated with a kitchen knife.
A kitchen knife you might get away with because if you've got it from the kitchen, but if you had the kitchen knife under your pillow, well, now you've premeditated that.
Yeah.
So that's one direction that the case law went in. The other one was that just because they're in a home and they're wielding a weapon and they're threatening your life doesn't mean that they mean you harm. You have to wait until they've actually had a swing. They've actually had a go. So I don't think anyone intended this on purpose, but where we've ended up is that the case law interpretation of reasonable force is once you've been stabbed, you're allowed to fight back.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what it's
so
become.
there was footage from a home invasion 3 nights ago where you would have heard the story. The 84-year-old man was punched in the face.
Yeah.
And then his son came to his rescue and had the criminal pinned down and had been stabbed by the criminal 5 times.
Yep.
And the footage is really distressing because the police are telling him to get off the criminal.
Yep, they're screaming at him like he's the problem. Yep.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find this footage quickly.
And this is what castle law is about fundamentally. It's about making sure that when the police show up, they're on your side, not on the criminal's side. Right? And this is the thing right now. If you call the police because your home has been invaded, when they show up, you cannot be confident that they're actually going to be on your side.
Yeah.
And they might emotionally sympathize with you. Oh, we get it. It's a horrible situation, blah, blah, blah. But they're going to slap handcuffs on you and drag you off to remand, and you're going to have criminal charges pressed against you from a whole bunch of people who are saying, oh, look, I'm on your side. I'm with you. But in practice, they're not. And that's the reality of home defence in Australia, most of Australia right now, and certainly in Victoria. The police will show up and they will verbally give you all of their sympathy while they ruin your life and press charges against you for the crime of defending your family inside your own home.
So I'm going to play this clip for you guys. Hopefully get some sound.
Multiple times after rushing to his 84-year-old father's house and tackling a knife-wielding home invader who broke in and assaulted his dad.
Hey, mate, let him go. Let him go.
The suburban drama began when Salvatore Andrula, who's 84 years old, heard his dog barking at his Ridley Street home at about 8:10 p.m. on Sunday night. When Mr. Andrula went to investigate, he was confronted by a man armed with a knife. The attacker demanded that Mr. Andrula hand over his car keys and punched him in the face when he refused. Mr. Andrula's 50-year-old son, who lives just next door, heard the commotion and ran to his father's aid. The son, Giuseppe, confronted the offender, believed to be aged in his 40s, and was stabbed multiple times when he wrestled with him. Mr. Andrula's son managed to overpower his attacker and hold him down until police arrived. The son was then taken to hospital where he remains in a serious condition. The offender, who is yet to be identified, was also taken to hospital with serious injuries. The incident comes amid a push to bolster the state's self-defense laws to give more power to residents to protect their homes following a surge in violent home invasions.
Discuss.
Well, I mean, that report covers it pretty well. I think we've got a situation we've just seen time and time again. This is happening around Australia. You know, there's a guy in Queensland who's up on charges because, or was it the NT? He's up on charges because he used capsicum spray to stop a guy who was climbing in through a window.
Because capsicum spray is illegal.
Yeah, and the guy could have had whatever weapon with him, but oh no, you used capsicum spray. That's excessive and that's illegal, and we're gonna turn you into the criminal. We've seen lawful gun owners who have, they go to their safe to get their gun. They don't have time to then unlock the firing pin, get the ammunition, everything else, and they use an unloaded gun to intimidate and get someone to leave their property. Then the police come, confiscate their guns, take away their license, all the rest of it, as though they're the criminal.
Yeah.
Because they dared to use the equipment that was in their home to protect their own family. This is frankly disgusting. our government and our police who enforce these laws are human rights abusers.
Yes.
And they are actively aiding and abetting the worst and most vile and violent people in our society. This is government-sanctioned violent crime. That's what it's become.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would encourage every single one of you who's Victorian to jump on and sign this petition. We need 10,000 signatures. And I do have a bit of a bone to pick with people as well, because people love to flap their gums around issues, but take absolutely no action.
Yep.
This petition is a perfect example of it.
Couldn't be easier.
This should have tens of thousands of signatures already.
Yep.
The fact that it doesn't disgusts me.
Yep.
And it has been, we've talked about it. David Limbrick's talked about it. The press is getting coverage for it now.
Yep.
The fact that Victorians will sit there and go, it's terrible, but you won't even do the bare minimum of signing this
Sign a petition. Yep.
is disgusting.
Get it to 10,000 so that it has to be read out in Parliament. David Limbrick is looking forward to reading it out in Parliament. He wants to do this. And I spoke to him in my interview with him. You'll find that on my YouTube channel. And he's optimistic, that there is a reasonable chance of actually getting some legs on this, that we can actually, at the very least, have, for example, the opposition picking this up as a really big election issue to run with and use against Jacinta Allen at the next election, or potentially even actually make such a ruckus around this and make the government's current position so untenable that Jacinta Allen actually has to throw the government behind it as well. That's possible. We don't know the future, but we also we don't have any chance if we don't actually get behind this and get those numbers up.
Yeah, it's just how I actually said this to the press today. I said, how are we in a position where this is even a debate or a discussion?
Yeah.
I said, do we need to have everyone in Victoria touched by crime and a home invasion before the government takes this seriously?
But you've commented before, you see these news reports where these machete-wielding gangs run through a shop or through an area, and then the news cameras turn to the bystanders and they interview them. Oh, well, yes, it was a bit surprising, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
No.
It's infuriating.
As you've said, where's the outrage?
Yep.
Where is the righteous anger about this? And in my opinion, the righteous anger needs to be directed at the criminals themselves. Of course, they are responsible for their own actions, but then doubled and directed at every single government employee and officer that facilitates this current program of government-sanctioned violent crime. And to the police out there, you can call yourself a decent person all you want. You can object that, this is what the system requires me to do, all the rest of it. No, have a spine. Here's a question for you. If you were accused in a court of law of having been on the side of the victims of violent crime and not on the side of the perpetrators, would there be enough evidence to convict you of the crime of being on the side of the victims, right? Because if there's no email trail of when you've gone to your authorities and said, this is unacceptable, I'm not following this directive, this order, I'm not doing this anymore. If there is no record of you having been disciplined for turning a blind eye, you go into someone's home for some other reason, you notice they keep a baseball bat next to their bed. No, you didn't. You didn't see that.
Yeah.
You didn't see that at all. Keep walking, keep moving. If there isn't documented evidence that you've actually sided with the victims of crime in your career, then I'm sorry, you're part of the problem.
Well, this just further illustrates that point.
Yep.
Bails for the teens accused of brawling with machetes at Werribee Plaza. This is a joke. It has gotten so bad and so prolific that they are so emboldened. They do this in broad daylight. They don't care because they know there are no consequences.
Yep. And we know that they will target innocent civilians. A guy lost his hand not long ago talking on the phone.
Over an iPhone. This is not gang versus gang stuff. Yes, okay, sometimes the specific incident is gang versus gang, but we know that they will turn in a heartbeat their attention and their violence against completely innocent bystanders, and the government is enabling it. Well, this breeds contempt as well. So these little youth criminals, and it may have originated with certain minorities.
Sure.
But now it's a social contagion.
Yeah.
Teenagers are choosing to indulge in this because they get points. It gives them social status, gives them credibility, gives them bragging rights.
Clicks and views online.
Yep, and they're getting social media credibility out of it. So now it's prolific because there's gain there for these criminals, apart from, of course, the things that they steal as well.
Yep.
And so the fact that we've taken no action has only made it escalate.
Yeah. It's risk versus reward. Criminals know that they can do this and their victims are disarmed because Victoria Police are just doing their job and have disarmed victims on the behalf of criminals.
Well, that set my blood into boiling. Jacinta Allen came out 2 days ago saying, just call the police. Just call the police, Jacinta.
Oh, with the arm that I'm missing?
Yeah, I was going to say, is that
Yep.
after my hand's been severed from my body?
Yep.
Is that whilst I'm waiting for the ambulance that won't come because they're currently ramping and there's no one in ED to put my arm back on my body?
Yep.
Like, is she could not be more out of touch.
Yeah, because her idea of the police are the security people that are in front of her home and outside of her office and her workplace. She goes nowhere without an armed security person being somewhere in very close proximity. So her idea of police is instantly there, on call, often preemptively there, because part of their training is to obviously identify threats in advance, right? That's her idea of how we all live. The reality of how we all live is that, I lived in Dandenong, the very centre of Dandenong. I lived in an apartment on a corner where I could see the road up from the train station, and then around the corner was the Centrelink. So all the deros, all the druggies, everybody were up and down my street all day long and all night long. And there was a drug house, a drug den in front of us. There was an illegal brothel happening across the road. You could see all this activity, and you just watch the patterns of behaviour. And you go, oh yeah, I know what's happening there. I know what's happening there. And so there were a lot of violent incidents that would happen. And to their credit, the individual police officers out at Dandenong were doing their best to attend and show up and so forth. But number one, they're under-resourced. That's true.
Yeah.
Number two, their defeatist attitude. And I get it. It's demoralizing. But you can't stand there and say to me, oh, look, nothing's going to happen, da-da-da-da, and then not be speaking up internally. This is what I'm saying about evidence. Is there evidence of you actually speaking up and saying something up the chain of command or to the media or something? You were showing me a video of Janine Pirro, the US.
I've got it here.
Have you got that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is what every police officer and every judge in Australia ought to be doing if you want to have a clear conscience about what's going on. I get you can't change the rules magically, but bloody well speak up.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Yeah. Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest. Intent to kill? I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of,
so
no
she goes
cash
on.
bail.
She goes on to talk about things that are specific to the District of Columbia. That's what they're talking about, is the crime wave that's happening in the American capital city and region of District of Columbia. But what she just said is exactly what we're experiencing here. And my message to every judge, every prosecutor, every police officer is, if there is nothing in public of you losing your shit over it and you're being disciplined for what you've said, then step up.
I just want to show this clip as well.
Thanks. It's never enough. This changed. This changed. It's never enough. You tell these families crime has dropped. You tell the mother of the intern who was shot going out from McDonald's near the Washington Convention Center, oh, crime is down. You tell the kid who was just beat the hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears. And my ears are deaf to that. And that's why I fight the fight.
Imagine having a politician that spoke like that.
Yeah, that actually just gave a rat's. Yeah, she was. So if you couldn't hear, the question from the reporter was citing data showing that crime in Washington D.C. has actually sharply declined. Funnily enough, from around about the time when Donald Trump became president. Weird how that worked. But even this drop, the level that it's dropped to, is a huge crime, massive crime problem. And her righteous indignation there, I think, was evident with a question like that. When you've got out of control crime, the fact that it's slightly less out of control is not a cause for celebration. And they're now finally beginning to take that hardline approach. Now, I don't necessarily agree with Trump. He's basically called in the National Guard. He's nationalising Washington D.C. I run into my human rights concerns around all of that. But the fact is, a little bit like El Salvador, they've got a genuine massive problem.
Yeah.
I was in Washington, D.C. not so long ago. I was speaking at a conference over there. And, I saw the fentanyl zombies. I saw that. I've seen that with my own eyes. Obviously San Francisco.
This is where I get really caught up with the liberal progressives. how do you walk past that?
Yeah.
And just go, no, things are good.
Yeah.
Because they look at the statistics. And actually, I watched the most amazing YouTube video about this, just talking about intelligence. And it's not a sign of strength. It's usually the more intelligent you are, the more you double down on your position and you have the cognitive dissonance. I won't bore you guys with it now. Brilliant. It was all about philosophy. But basically, as a Democrat, like Gavin Newsom, perfect example. Since he's been governor, he went through the pandemic and he basically has bankrupted California. All the companies are leaving. But not only that, Skid Row is now not just like one street. Places like Hermosa Beach, Venice Beach, Hollywood Boulevard, even as far as like Beverly Hills have got homeless encampments where people are literally bent over on trank and not moving for hours on end. There is insane amounts of crime, not even to mention like what's going on with the Palisades fires and things like that. Yet the Democrats will sit there and look at those statistics and go, oh, well, there's this one positive here. So ignore all the bad stuff. Let's look at this one thing that we did that was great.
Yeah, and then you run into ranking where what they're saying is, yes, but social justice is up.
Yeah.
You know, I know. I mean, yes, I know.
It's okay because I remembered your pronouns.
Yeah, there's some issues over here, I'm sure. But you know what? That's not important right now. What's important is that we have rainbow-coloured sidewalks.
Yes.
And
progress.
So they rank things according to their own value system, which is just completely detached from the reality of the priorities of real people that live in the real world.
Oh, this podcast
What a delightful podcast. I tell you, we're going to win so many fans with this one.
I don't have any good, don't have any good stories.
Okay, can I bring up a good news story?
Yeah.
So the Prime Minister is running a productivity summit shortly and has invited a number of different groups to come and help Australia become productive again. Now, this is a real problem. Our productivity absolutely nosedived literally from the election of... or from when Albanese came to power and began expanding NDIS and doing a bunch of this stuff where he boasts about, oh, there's been 1 million new jobs. Well, yes, but none of them are productive. We're paying people, we're moving money around, but they're not actually doing anything productive. And so Australian productivity is nosedived. That's why our standard of living is dropping. That's why if it feels harder now than it was 5 years ago, it's because it is harder than it was 5 years ago. Productivity is at the heart of all of that. So our Prime Minister has discovered the word productivity. And he's using it a lot.
Of which he is not.
Well, he's not productive, but he's using it a lot. He's talking about productivity, a productivity summit. And all the people that he's invited to his little hand-picked cabal of people for this productivity summit are people who want us to tax more. Surprise, surprise. There are people proposing raising the GST to 15% and removing the exemption for things like medical stuff and fresh fruit and veg and so forth. But saying it's fine because what we're going to do is give every Australian cash back on the first $22,000 they spend, so they'll get that back. So it's now we're talking like a full-on money go-round, okay? And of course, all the bureaucrats have to administrate that and skim their little portion off the top. Her department's going to get bigger, so now she goes up a bracket in her salary, and all of that happens, right? So these are the kinds of people that he's inviting. He's invited the ACTU, for example.
Good friends.
The wonderful friends. I think we actually just came across a former ACTU.
We
was
did.
It secretary or some role like that in the ACTU.
About to go for a holiday overseas.
Went for a holiday overseas whilst on kiddie porn charges. I think he's exactly cut from the right cloth. Now, the ACTU have said, so in addition to some people are proposing, we need a 15% GST, the ACTU have said we need a 4-day work week.
Oh, brilliant.
And you know what? I was just thinking, 4-day work week. But in Victoria, you'll have the right to work 2 of them from home.
Yeah. So basically, you'll do fuck all.
Well,
which, to be fair, is on brand for the government.
Speaking of fuck all, I was thinking the prostitutes are going to love this. Because 2 days a week they can work from home. They don't even have to get out of bed.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to work out well for them. But it literally reverses it. So now instead of spending 2 days of the weekend at home and 5 days at work, now in total, you're going to have a 3-day weekend, 2 days of work from home and only 2 days actually out at the office. And this is the thing that gets my goat. When they talk about productivity and they talk about these sorts of reforms, the government thinks that it is going to come up with the formula, the solution, and then we're going to legislate or regulate that formula or solution, then everyone's going to become more productive. But that just isn't how real life works. Some people are more productive in an office environment and they enjoy it. Now, that might be because the home they live in is a shithole, or it might be because they've got a noisy home environment for a range of reasons, or it might just be because they enjoy the people they work with. not every person and not every business is going to benefit from being out of the office. Not everyone wants to be out of the office. There are jobs where you can't be away from the machine, the factory machine, or if you're a Jim's mowing guy, try working from home.
Well, it becomes a two-tiered society then, because a lot of people who are primary industries focused or they're service workers, they don't get to work from home.
And the two-tiered society is the key to this. So the ACTU comes out. This is the what's the ACTU stand for? It's the trades union, Australian Council of Trade Unions, right? So these are the tradie guys, the blue collar guys, saying we should be working 4 days, excuse me. Now the argument for the 4-day work week is people saying, but we won't lose productivity. Productivity is not going to go down. We're going to be able to get just as much done in 4 days as what currently gets done in 5.
These sound like people who've never run a business before.
Well, they've certainly never worked with their bodies in their life.
Yeah.
For an Australian Council of Trade Unions, these guys don't seem to understand. So the
They're
argument,
too busy watching kiddie porn.
well, so some of them, it seems. So the argument is you can get as much done in 4 days as you're currently getting done in 5. And my answer is, okay, go do that.
Yeah.
Go become more productive. Because if you're a tradie, you're going to make more money. Certainly, if you're a self-employed tradie, you can make a lot more money. I mean, if we just go and tell all the self-employed tradies, hey guys, just go be more productive in 4 days.
Yeah,
they'll love it. Like again, if it was actually good, they would. If it was actually real, they would already be doing it.
Yes.
So here are these people sitting in their ivory towers wanting to tell the rest of the world how it's going to work and how they're going to benefit and how it's going to be better. And we're going to have this magical world where it's better for everybody, but nobody's thought of it yet. Nobody's organically doing it. Even though it's better for everybody, no one's gone, hey, this is better for all of us. Hey, let's do this thing. No one's done that, so we have to impose it from above. And they think that this is going to work. I'm watching this going, this is Venezuela.
Yeah. This is demoralizing.
And yes, if you're playing the drinking game, you need to drink now. I mentioned Venezuela. You haven't mentioned your masters yet.
No, not yet, but you just did. So 2 shots.
2 shots.
That'd be a very tragic drinking game. We'd all end up with alcohol poisoning.
That'd be savage.
You'd be drunk in 2 minutes. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to add to that. Firstly, there's a key element that's missing that no one talks about, and I think people really underestimate its importance, is collaboration.
Yeah.
So when it comes to office spaces, I get it. Some office places are shit. And everyone always uses that exception as the argument.
Toxic work environment. Yeah, that happens. That's true.
That's very normal. Yeah. And hey, welcome to humanity.
Yep,
that's just consistent. You know, we are sometimes sons of bitches. But when it comes to collaboration, if you're isolated at home, and remember, I am someone who has worked for herself for almost 18 years.
Sure.
And most of that has been working from home. I've said this before in the podcast. I had to go out of my way to get social interaction. But there are so many things that have happened in my business, in my life, that I'm like, if I just had someone to soundboard that off in the moment, not, hey, I'll wait and I'll go. I mean, as I'm thinking of the idea, hey guys, what do you think of this? Is this a good thing? I really miss that and I don't have it. I've got my best mate who also works from home. We are on the phone most days, and I don't think it's necessary because we want to talk to each other. There is that. But most of the times it's just like,
I need someone to bounce off.
Hey,
I need,
what's happening?
Yeah.
Just, even like, not that I'm traveling in traffic, but like, I think back to when I used to commute from Geelong to Melbourne. I did that for 7 years. And I'd be up at 6, I'd go to the gym, I'd get on the train. And then, by the time I was back in Melbourne, I was on the next train to go over to South Bank. But things would happen in my day. And then I had things to talk about. And I'd sit there with my work colleagues and be like, oh, the trains were stuffed this morning, and then this, that, the other. And then we'd get the MX magazine. We'd be talking about that.
Use your words for the day, your 10,000 words.
Yeah. And like, I'd also get my 10,000 steps.
There you go.
Which, I've become very sedentary when I work from home, which, that could lead into all sorts of stuff. But that social mingling is something that's lacking. We're actually seeing that play out with Gen Z.
Yeah.
They don't know how to be social. And I saw an article, I was going to bring it up and I can find it. But it was basically saying that Gen Z now needs their managers to teach them how to behave in a workplace. Because they have no basic skills.
Yeah, they don't have the basic etiquette.
And it's interesting because, again, comment section, I was reading it thinking, oh, is everyone just going to dunk on Gen Z? And actually, weirdly, there was a lot of people defending them going, oh, maybe that's just because we don't want to work in toxic workplaces and work for free and be overworked. And I'm like, again, everything about this is just examples of the extreme.
That entitlement.
Most companies aren't like that. It's particularly not today.
But also, young people have been taught that they can have everything right from the get-go.
Yes.
And this is a curse. We've cursed them with this idea that they're special. You can be anything. You're going to be amazing. Well, okay, if you work hard and you're dedicated and you're humble, which means that you learn, then you can end up being amazing. Absolutely true. But you're not going to walk in on day one and be amazing. You're going to walk in on day one and you're going to suck, and you're going to be paid accordingly.
Yeah.
Right? And we haven't actually given them that realistic expectation. And so they walk in there with delusions of grandeur, completely unreasonable expectations. I was reading a summary from someone. I decided not to do a video on this, but I was looking into the younger people getting into the workforce. And we've talked about this split. There are people heading down this hardworking route, and they're doing really well, starting businesses young, doing online businesses or getting trades and so forth.
Yeah.
There's a cohort that are doing fantastically well and returning back to basics. But there is a very large cohort that isn't.
Yeah.
And when those people are going out into the workplace, there was a recruiting person who wrote an article, talked about the fact that the last round of recruiting that she did for the company, large company, lot of candidates, one candidate actually filled out the referees section in their application.
Mm-hmm.
One out of, she implied a very large number, dozens at the very least, of applicants. That's such a fundamental, basic thing. And these weren't 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
This was hiring this was hiring university graduates into a professional
well,
role.
they're the worst. Oh, I've got a university degree.
Yeah.
That means nothing
No,
these days.
Correct. Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say it never meant anything. It did once mean something, but
Well,
certainly doesn't.
I shouldn't say that because I am studying a postgraduate degree. But
Oh, did you just mention?
no, I didn't say the word.
Oh,
I said
but
postgraduate. Did you like that?
Drink half a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was being delicate. No, because a lot of people have said that to me. Oh, if you don't think tertiary education is important, why are you doing it? I'm like, because unfortunately, there is so much riding on it to get a foot in the door of the community that I want to be in.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree to it because think about it. It's an elitist gap. This degree I'm doing is $45,000.
Yeah, it's a pay to play world.
Yes.
You are paying for entry into a protected market. I've done videos on this before. The university system is literally now just a protection racket in the same way that you used to have to pay the government for a medallion if you wanted to be a taxi driver. You had to buy that.
Yeah.
It's a protection racket, and they will then keep other people who don't have the medallion out and prosecute them if they try and get in. It's the same thing with uni degrees, law degrees, all the rest of it. You are literally just buying access into a protection racket, and what you are paying for actually in reality is for the government and for the various regulators to keep people who haven't bought that piece of paper out of your way so they can't compete with you. That's actually what you're buying.
And this is the thing about Gen Z, right? So like you said, they've been sold this promise that you can be anything and have anything. If people want to know why I want the degree to be able to get into the art world, it's because I want to be able to make artwork like this and get 6.5 million for it.
I want to be rich enough to be the one that buys the banana and eats it there on the spot. Like,
I want my share of some money laundering, all right?
listen, guys, if you buy me enough coffees, one day I'll be able to buy a sticky taped banana.
Yeah,
Okay? Just like pony up, everybody.
That's one of the most crazy things I have learned. It's just how utter bullshit most of this is. I've actually got a video that I'm researching. I'm doing what you do now. But my research, unfortunately, takes a lot longer. And I don't know if this is the same for you. But I want to do an article on not only how woke has deprived us of good art, but how contemporary and postmodernism have basically made us celebrate shit like this.
Yeah.
You know, you look at what we were capable of doing and now we're no longer doing that. And that's the whole perverse incentives. And also, I think this ties into this productivity bullshit. Oh, if you can do this in 4 days, then you can have 3 days to rest.
Yeah.
Which, what does that mean? Oh, actually, you could have been working harder that whole time.
You could have been way more productive. And when it comes to art, we once celebrated excellence, and in order to be considered excellent, you had to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Then we entered a phase where we still celebrated excellence, but once someone was excellent, they could then break the rules and redefine the rules. And you know, you ended up with your Picassos and your these sort of art evolved. Then we said from that, oh, look at these people breaking the rules, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess that means there are no rules.
Yeah.
And that's where we fell off the cliff. Because now, instead of people learning the rules and then mastering them to such a degree that they can defy the rules, and it's still brilliant, and in fact it's new and it's got energy and it's pushing art forward, now they're just saying, well, if so long as I've got the wank, we've talked about this before, it's the plaque with the wank on it.
100% it is.
That's where the art actually is now. And so long as they've got that, none of the rest of the actual work matters. There's no excellence, there are no rules, and literally if they can justify it in the wank, it's art.
I can attest to that because I've sat through so many different presentations of working artists. And again, art's subjective. I know all that. But most of the time I watch these people and I listen to them speak and I'm like, how do you support yourself with this? And I ask that question nearly and it's probably to the point where my lecturers are like, Jesus Christ, this bitch is so nosy. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, Because subjectively, I think it's shit.
Yeah.
This is not, there's no technical skill. I'm not looking at anything that's like grand or beautiful or profound. I can handle seeing some weird, fucked up shit if it's profound.
Yeah.
Right? I can understand that. Like,
Or if it's technically accomplished.
yes. Like,
You know, you
there's
can
an
appreciate,
element.
wow, that was hard to do. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't put it
wow.
on my wall, but I
Yeah.
can appreciate it's
Yeah.
difficult. And, you know, I look at this stuff, I'm like, this is arguably nonsense, but you've taken it and the way you've spun it and that little, like you said, plaque on the wall
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
That people are like, wow, this is really profound. I'll give you an example, and I'm not going to throw this person under the bus, but there was a presentation where this person came in and they had bought an old digital camera from like early 2000s, and they had been taking photos of discarded things on lawns. So like a dog toy, a hose, random garden equipment, whatever, a shoe. That was that. That was it. That was the exhibition.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you know, this is reminiscent of nostalgia and a life that we've lost. I can't even remember how they bullshitted their way through it.
Can you imagine just how low we would have to go if someone, I don't know, just pulling an idea off the top of my head, like just walked around a supermarket photographing things that were put on the wrong shelf? Like, I mean, how incredibly low has our art culture fallen? You know?
Well, I will defend myself.
Please
since you
do.
brought up-
I look forward to this.
So there can be what you call practice-led research,
Right.
and that's what you call practice-led. So there's research around inherent laziness and mediocrity, which is something I'm very passionate about.
I'm fantastic at mediocrity. Actually, you should study me. Mediocrity is my thing.
I would say it's not. Yeah. But mediocrity starts with complacency. And I would argue that's what the government's bringing in with the working from home laws. If you become complacent and there's no incentive to try because you can't achieve anything if you do try, well, then you're going to do the least amount that you have to do to get the result that you need.
Yep.
And so I have seen this manifest in the supermarket thing. So my project, Chicken in the Noodle Aisle, is taken from a perspective of observation.
Yeah.
And the way I'm going to present it will be a huge, like I hope this will happen, a huge collage of all these pictures, just showing how lazy we are.
Yeah.
And the reason it's so important it's the supermarket is it's a place that most of us go 2, 3, 4 times a week,
Yeah.
some more than others. And we walk past that every day and accept that that's the norm. It's not our job, it's someone else's job. And as a consequence, that small amount of laziness actually snowballs.
Yeah.
It costs more to the supermarkets because of the shrinkage. It takes time for the employers to put it back. You know, all of these things that no one else considers. And then they wonder why we're getting to the point where Gen Z doesn't work. It starts with the small stuff.
Well, often they can't even put it back. If it's anything that has
they
has
can't.
come out of a fridge or anything like that, there's a lot of things that they actually they have to just literally throw in the bin if they find it outside of the right spot. But you are right, and I give you a hard time for it, and I will never stop giving you a hard time for it. But you are right. And this then manifests. I mean, why do we have people just throwing rubbish out of the window of their car? As if you can't, like your car can't handle driving all the way home with it and then you put it in your household bin.
Yeah.
That is that laziness, that practiced laziness. And this is an area where, I'm not a culture warrior, but culture does matter in these sorts of things.
Is that what I am? A cultural warrior?
I would describe you as a cultural warrior, yeah.
I'll take it.
And
I call myself chaos merchant.
well, look, you are lawful. You are chaotic lawful. You familiar with the categories?
No.
There's like sorry,
Fill
no,
me
hang
in.
on. You're chaotic good. So there's chaotic, and there's lawful,
Okay.
and there's evil, and there's good.
Right.
And on those, you can be evil to good, evil, neutral, or good, and you can be chaotic, neutral, or lawful.
Okay.
So someone who's like lawful good would be a sheriff who's really straight up and down and isn't corrupt, all the rest of it. Someone who's lawful evil would be a sheriff who's completely corrupt and is using the system to their advantage and all that sort of stuff. Someone who is chaotic good is a ruffian and probably rejected by society, but is actually like just running around doing good and helping people. And
Did you just call me a ruffian?
No.
I think you did.
Yeah, well,
I think
Maybe,
you did.
maybe.
I get accused of being a bogan regularly.
Is that bogan and ruffian are not the same thing. Do not insult the ruffians.
What's a ruffian?
Like
a
a-
dishevelled, dirty person?
A vagabond. Robin Hood would have been described as a ruffian. An outcast from society.
I don't know if I'm outcast.
Give it time. You're working on it. You're working on it.
I think I was in COVID because I was on the wrong side of history.
Oh,
but
right. Well, no, you're on the right side of history. You're on the wrong side of the media.
yes. But back to something like this is random. I just saw a photo of this yesterday, but this is the cathedral in Cologne. Do you guys remember, we used to make shit like this. Like this is Gothic architecture. It's just so intricate.
Yeah. And listen to the music of the time. So I've talked about this before. I'll touch on it very briefly. Architecture is music in physical form, and music is architecture in liquid form. And I say liquid intentionally. I won't dive into the theory of this, but when you listen to the music of a time and you look at the architecture, you immediately understand a lot about the people of the time.
Yeah.
And if you doubt that and you're kind of like, oh, it sounds a little bit airy-fairy, have a look at Soviet-era music and Soviet-era architecture. It's heavy, it's blocky.
Yeah.
Brutalist. And Russian music before the Soviet Revolution was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Intricate detail. You look at their architecture. Look at the domes, the gold.
St. Petersburg. Yeah.
Yeah. You can run comparison after comparison throughout society. And I think it is no coincidence that at a time when we entered this sort of postmodern world, our music has become extremely chaotic. Now, I'm not a hater on metal music or rock music or any of these sorts of things. There is a lot of art there. I mean, you want art, listen to Apocalyptica. Right? These are classically trained cellists doing heavy metal, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful.
I'd say someone like Sleep Token or whatever, like they are taking music to new heights. You probably have no idea.
I have no idea who that
is.
is. So I'm not hating on the entire genre, but I think it says something about us that we've indulged now for a number of decades in music that has been largely one of two streams. Chaotic and noisy, like just or banal. And this is your pop music, kind of churn it out. You know, they all sound the same kind of stuff.
Sorry, I just have this horrible feeling that you're insulting new metal. Is that the vibe I'm getting here?
I can't define new metal as opposed to old metal. I don't know what the difference is.
New as in NU.
Oh.
So Linkin Park.
Oh no!
Korn.
No. Listen, I indulge in all of that stuff.
I was like, if you're coming for Linkin Park right now,
no,
I will reach
crawling
over
in my
that table.
Skin. No. No, Linkin Park, Blink-182. Yeah, look, I love a bit of Eminem. There's a lot of that genre that I personally indulge in and enjoy. I'm not othering it. I'm not sitting here as some musical elitist. I don't sit at home listening to classical music.
You don't listen to Bach as your cooking dinner?
No, well, Handel, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
But we can't deny the connection.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I watch a lot of music channels because I'm really fascinated by this. And I guess I am a culture warrior because I'm someone that, what's the word I'm looking for here? I am ambitious, but I am driven by being proficient and excellent at something.
Sure.
So whatever it is that's taken my attention, baking sourdough, I will go down the depths of hell to become the best at baking that particular sourdough.
You bake a mean sourdough.
Yeah, and then I'm like, sweet, I've got 2 loaves in the fridge ready to go actually.
What, none in the oven?
Well, no, because it will be burnt by now.
I am offended.
Yeah, so it'll be there for me tonight, but not you.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'm fascinated by this, and what I see with a lot of musicians is the music gets made in a studio, right? And there's typically someone that's playing, either they're using the engineered sounds on the boards and someone might be playing drums or whatever. It's the live shows where the musicians get to shine.
That's where you find out who's actually good.
Right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
You watch some of these drummers and they're able to just tell you things, and they talk like the show I've talked about before, Drummio. And you get these drummers on from bands and they play genres that they've never heard of and things like that.
Yeah.
And you just see them like the coolest one I watched recently was what's his name from Chili Peppers? Oh my God, that's so bad. I forgot his name. Chad. No, is it Chad? Far out. That's so bad.
Don't ask me.
I love the Chili Peppers. Anyway, he's just like, he starts listening to a Dua Lipa song. She's a pop song.
Yeah.
And he's listening, he's like, yeah, he's like, oh, and it's on the 3 and then all of a sudden he's just like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And then you see other people who are just doing incredible things. So they are trained well, but the issue is the industry and the way it's been built doesn't allow them a platform to go up there. Do you remember in the 70s, in the 60s?
I remember them so well, like they were yesterday.
Well, no, we had guitar solos.
Right, yes.
Rarely
the wailing electric guitar. Yeah.
And then you'd have drum solos and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't exist anymore. They're rare. You know, even in pop songs, there's no bridges.
Yeah.
It just goes straight to the chorus.
So let me state it plainly for anyone that's in doubt. I'm not criticizing the technical and even the musical art in modern music, but I am saying it is a reflection of where our culture has gone. And you can see that link. And I don't think it's necessarily a good thing.
No, I would say that too. I am someone that loves the modernist movement. So Picasso, Cubism, the Surrealists. I love all that because it's profound. And they still had insane levels of skill.
Yeah.
Picasso was a genius.
Well, these are the guys I'm talking about where they mastered the rules and then they broke them as masters of the rules.
Yes, exactly.
But it was out of that the next generation looked at it and said, oh, well, maybe there's no rules.
Well,
and that's where we went wrong.
Postmodernism with your Jackson Pollocks and things like that, your Andy Warhols, that's when things started to get really obscure. Duchamps, Urinal.
Well, now we have, how much is that Poles canvas supposed to be worth now?
Poles canvas.
Isn't it Poles was bought, although it's basically just a series of parallel vertical lines that was bought, I think, by the National Gallery of Victoria.
That sounds on brand for Victoria.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly Google it now.
The NGV has a very impressive collection of art and not even the best that ones are on display. Obviously, they don't have the space to show them all.
Okay, so Blue Poles is a painting by Jackson Pollock that isn't the one that I was thinking of.
Are you thinking of like a Rothgard or something?
That was purchased by the National Gallery of Australia in 1973 and remains one of the gallery's major paintings. Bring it up on screen because, how much was it bought for? That's what I want to know.
I had it here, 1.3 million in 1973.
Yeah, way back then. So, Blue Poles artwork value.
I will defend Pollock.
Okay.
The reason I will say that
allegedly value of $500 million.
That's because it's posthumously valued now. He's dead.
Sure, but I can appreciate a significant posthumous value on artworks from someone that can't be repeated. Give me a couple of shopping bags and a spike to poke a hole in the bottom and some paint to pour in them, and we're going to end up with a result that's not dissimilar.
Now, because you've seen it happen.
Sure.
No one had done that first.
It's not $500 million.
No, it is now because he's famous.
No. It is not $500 million. It is art world wankery that is worth $500 million.
I am going to
that painting
defend
is
this.
not $500 million.
Look, I don't think it's worth $500 million, but actually Pollock's paintings are massive.
Sure.
They're really big.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to put it up in a normal house. But okay, with Pollock and all of those that came in the postmodernist movement, a lot of it was they were the first to do it.
Sure.
So there's a lot of artists in this movement who did something that was minimal, that was brutalist, and you could say this is ugly. And there's nothing wrong, and this is something that people misunderstand about art. Art is not always beautiful.
Sure.
It's
I accept
ugly.
That. Yep.
And there's a chaosness to it. Now, Pollock, when you watched him paint, it was almost like a meditation. And there's so many layers of paint. Yes. So many layers.
Oh, I can accept that, yes.
It doesn't count if you had to look at the book.
No, but look, this is why I have to look at the book now to use it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Yeah. Well, what's the word?
Fuck, I don't know.
Bowdlerize. You know why I know that?
Bowdlerize.
Because I looked at the book.
Yeah, you just looked at the book.
Yeah.
I've just accepted that I won't say it this podcast. If I can't get it out in one go,
you've given up.
I don't want to embarrass myself by stuttering over it.
So I can accept that is art. I don't argue that is art.
Okay.
And someone having the vision to go, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and then figuring out a way to technically execute it, because it was a complicated thing. As you say, the Jackson Pollocks are massive, and actually at a technical level, making it work and making it happen.
I fear you're going to insult me. Look at this artwork and tell me, is this valuable?
Okay, so which one am I looking at? That one there?
They're all the same artist, but this one.
I mean, the unfortunate thing is that these days it just looks like AI, because AI has ruined. Well, you're showing me little tiny pictures on a screen way over there. Don't look at me outraged.
Hang on. Is that better?
Yeah, there's no reason why that's not art.
You are so lucky that you said that. If you had a Vincent, so this is my favorite artist, James Gleeson. He's Australian,
right? And
he was in the surrealism movement.
Yep.
NGV,
which is just a fancy way of saying he was on drugs.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
But these paintings are huge. They're like 2-3 meters. They're massive, and the NGV has, I think, 15 of them, and they have not been on display in almost 20 years. Every time I go there, I ask them, have you got one out? Have you got one out? To the point where they're probably sick of me. When I say huge, they're like 3 meters, monolithic. And they're surrealist dreams. They're, basically trips and things like that. And there's no real element that you pick out and go, oh, that's a person. In his earlier work, there was.
Yeah.
Now, someone would say, oh, anyone could do this. I would argue you actually cannot.
Yep.
You cannot. That is a vision that man saw. That is something he brought into life. Now, I was explaining this to G because he was looking at some of my work from my postgraduate study.
Sure.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope you're getting drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was showing. Do you want to see some of the work? I'll do it really. Come on.
You're in charge of the buttons. I can't say no, can I?
I redid my website quickly just to show. It's just a little bit, right? So it's called Chimera.
Yeah.
Now, this whole thing is about looking at beauty standards, right?
Yeah.
Now, I am challenging those beauty standards by using the tarot, and I know I lost you with this.
Yeah.
So the tarot is just merely a story, a bit like the Bible. It's a story, right? It's not necessarily literal.
I think the Bible is, but yes,
Okay,
I accept what you're saying about the tarot. Yes.
It's not necessarily like look at it and it's literal and it unfolds as it says. It's open to interpretation. It's to get you thinking. And I was explaining this to my partner, who does not have an art bone in his body.
Sure.
And he's so literal. Bless his cotton socks.
But boy, can he build an engine.
Boy can, and he's looking at it. He's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I was like, there's nothing to get. A lot of the time with art, so you've got beautiful art. Sure, awesome. Put it on your wall. You love it.
Yeah.
Then you've got art that makes you think. And it might not be necessarily beautiful, but it's enough to make you go, huh. It makes me uncomfortable. So my master's project, I want you to feel weirdly uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because there's...
Well, I mean, then you are a master's project. I mean, I feel that every time we're in the same room. So
I could dial it up.
no,
I
we're
tone
good.
it down for
we're good.
YouTube.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
So look at this face. I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
Tell me how this face makes you feel.
You know, I want to ask what's wrong. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what's up?
Does that human exist?
I doubt it.
She does not. Well, you only know that because I'm working on AI.
Well, no. I've become so. We're going to get to this in a minute. Yes, and I would have instinctively doubted it because it has a certain look to the skin, but that's just me.
All right, you're on it. You're on the right track.
Yeah.
What's real and what's fake in this picture? By the way, this picture's massive. I've just got it cropped on my website.
Yeah. Okay. Goodness.
What's real? Because remember, it's photography.
Yeah. Look, I can't say with. I would say the hand is real.
Yeah.
The hand that's a real hand. I'm struggling with the nose and the cheeks and the sheen on the skin there, but that's. I look at that now, and I've developed a very cynical AI filter.
Yeah.
Because I've been sucked in numerous times.
Yeah.
But there's something about that that's my uncanny valley is a very, very like you don't have to be far off authentic before my uncanny valley kicks in.
Yeah.
So what have you played with?
The only thing I've played with is her pupils.
Just the pupils.
Yeah. That photo is real.
So the skin is literally in camera.
That's all real.
Yeah, wow.
Now,
Okay.
obviously, there's some effects and things like that. You can't really see it, but there's a lot of distortion and color grading.
Yeah.
But this is my point with AI. It will
So
get
it's Photoshop
it's Photoshop.
as opposed to AI. Yep. Okay.
And then as we progress through the portraits, they get increasingly more uncomfortable because you don't know if the person's real or not.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There's a homogenization
Yeah.
because of beauty standards, particularly with filters and fillers and now AI.
Yeah.
And then we move to some of
the line between Photoshopped and AI now is almost is zero basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so these are three of the pictures. Now, the one in the middle is the devil, right? And G was like, I don't get it. And I'm like,
There's nothing to get.
there's nothing to get.
Yeah.
She's glitching.
Yeah.
She's switching between the devil of herself, her ego, and who she actually is. And that's just a screenshot, basically, if you think of it that literally, of that process happening.
That moment. Yep.
She's melting down, she's glitching, she's in between worlds, she's in between herself. Now, this picture is going to be printed huge.
Yep.
So when you see it, you will be able to be staring at it going, what, your brain will just go into things. The one on the left is the story of Narcissus.
Right.
Narcissus? I can't say it.
Narcissus. Narcissus.
And he's the Greek god that was cursed to fall in love with his reflection and he didn't eat or drink and died of thirst, even though he's staring at water. So that's my interpretation of that. Then this is the Fool card, which is the young girl, and she's already marking up herself for surgery.
Yeah.
And then we go into the more literal AI stuff. So face under construction. And then this one here, the girl's choosing her lips for the day. And then, this is my cyborg where you'll just be able to buy a new face and just plug it in.
Yeah.
Why do fillers when you can just put a new face on?
Speaking of Minority Report.
Yeah. So the whole point is is it art that you'd put on your wall? Maybe not.
No.
But it's going to get you thinking.
But it's perfect for an exhibition. It's perfect for a master's degree. It's perfect for what you're creating it for. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, so art can have a role where it doesn't necessarily need to be beautiful.
That I accept as well. But I do not accept that any sized canvas from any artist is ever worth $500 million.
That's just money laundering.
But that's what a lot of the art world is. I mean,
yes,
what's
that's why I want the degree so I can get in there and be a part of it.
Hunter Biden getting millions of dollars for his stuff. Like, tell me that's not just paying
Should
money
we look
for
at some
access.
Hunter Bidens?
No, please don't. Let's move on. New topic.
No, we're looking at artwork. Come on. Do you see how he does that? And then I'm like, yes, let's talk about it. I suppose if you're a meth head, surely you've seen some things.
Sure. I mean, yep. Would I put that? That I could. I was
gonna say I don't hate it.
No, that I could see in a room. Okay, but the kind of money they're paying,
yeah, of course,
is extraordinary. They're paying for the access that comes with it. He's not talentless.
No, I was going to say, I actually don't think this is terrible.
But there are multiple people in my street where I live who do painting in their little sunrooms who do a better job than this. This is not pay millions of dollars territory.
I would say if he's done art as a way of dealing with his drug addiction, then that's great. Fantastic. Good work.
So top row there, the one with the blue bowl and the fruit in the top, that's what it looks like to me. It's not, go to the right, to the right, to the right, to the left, that one. Yeah, it's an impressionist's version of a bowl with fruit and things spilling out.
Yeah, like a vase or something.
Yeah, vase. As a splash of colour on the back of my toilet door, I'd pay $15 for that. Yeah. But people are paying millions.
Well, it is the Biden crime family,
Correct,
so that makes
correct.
sense. But I mean, and then this is the other thing too. So the pictures your kids draw, are they art?
Yeah.
Well, technically, but I don't like it, but you like it because there's an emotional and sentimental attachment.
I'm obliged to pretend to like it, and I put it on my fridge until it gets replaced by the next thing.
And do you put it on your fridge and then go, oh no, mummy spilt the milk on the oh, that's a shame. Oh, I have to go in the bin.
Oh no, daddy burnt down the kitchen. What a shame. Yeah.
Anyway, enough about Hunter Biden because
but again, it's
creeps me out.
like that's not millions of dollars, and Blue Poles is not $500 million, right?
No.
I could accept, given the scale of it and given the provenance and the history of it, and the fact that he did pioneer a new form, a couple of $1 million. I could accept that.
Can we go back to my story of how we got to that tangent? I don't even remember.
Did
Multi-layered.
I sing the song? Have I sung the song?
You should sing it
I
again.
feel I need. Well, I only got halfway through with it, and that was only like for shits and gigs. Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time.
Jazz hands.
Yep.
Jazz hands. I will use an AI to create that song for you. So Gen Z needs. So this is a viral talking point.
Right.
And this was the topic that I got into when we started talking about mediocrity. So there's multiple articles of this now, but basically someone made a LinkedIn post because of course they did. And this is what they said. Gen Z needs better etiquette in the workplace. San Francisco companies are hiring coaches to teach etiquette to Gen Z employees. The classes include teaching skills like hygiene. Sorry, what? Sorry, what? Maintaining eye contact. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
And proper meeting behaviour. As a Gen Z employee, I'm always fascinated by these stories, but do wonder how much of it is true. Anecdotally, I know many Gen Z employees who go above and beyond to maintain professionalism. I also see masses of influencers online who perform their jobs poorly, complain about doing tasks that are part of their job, and create the perception that they don't want to work.
Yeah.
So basically, in this etiquette coaching, they are learning how to manage deadlines, have hard conversations, doing difficult tasks and finding resources when you hit a wall, prioritizing heavy workloads, navigating and exiting a toxic work environment, presenting and participating in meetings, knowing how and when to request PTO. So is that time off?
PTO. I mean, time off, yes, but I don't know what the P is.
Personal time off?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Negotiating raises and better benefits. And that is why a lot of these tech companies are bringing in etiquette coaching. You have failed miserably if you have a generation of 20-year-olds who don't know basic stuff like that.
Can we just pause and reflect on the fact that before they even went to university, they had spent 12 or 13 years inside a government-run education system. And they're coming out not only not knowing how to do taxes and other basic life admin stuff like that, but apparently now they don't know how to maintain eye contact.
That's bizarre. Well, no, that's because they're looking down at their phones whilst they're talking to you. They're like, man.
Well, sure. So have your phones locked away during school. Like let's actually make sure that kids, after 12 years of a very expensive and all-consuming education system that the government says is entirely necessary, and trust us, we will raise your kids to be productive members of society. They can't maintain eye contact. They don't know how to have hard conversations. They don't know basic stuff like how to prioritize workflows and workloads.
Well, they don't even know their gender half the time. So,
well, I mean, it's hard to know your gender when you can't even define what a woman is.
Yeah.
So that one I can understand.
And now there's all these, like, I mean, we're not going to go into TikTok, but there's a lot of, you know how like a trend comes out and then everyone jumps on it? So there's all these trends at the moment talking about office attire. And a lot of it, Gen Z doesn't even know how to dress for the office. They're wearing what we would call nightclubbing outfits.
Wow.
To
Okay.
the workplace.
That could lead to some issues with the HR department, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the problem. HR, they're untouchable.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they just have to say any of the words and boom, you are immediately immune to any criticism.
Yep.
They can't take criticism.
Yep.
Now, I don't like tarring everyone with the same brush,
No.
but
This is that divide that we've talked about.
the fact that we're having this conversation,
Yeah.
you know, I just think, where did we go wrong? Well, there's lots of things we did wrong, but when you talk about working from home and productivity, we have created a whole generation that doesn't even know the basics.
Yeah.
So if you're taking away that 5-day week for them to be able to at least get their minimum workload done, imagine them now with the pressure of 4 days.
Yeah. Or just the accountability of the office.
Yeah.
You know, people rag on the open plan office, all the rest of it. But, you know, yes, a toxic work environment is a toxic work environment. That's a horrible thing. But a non-toxic work environment that has the open plan office has some implied accountability.
Yes.
Anyone can walk past at any time. You need to actually be being productive and doing something. And when you've got a generation that doesn't know how to prioritize workloads and doesn't know how to do these basic kind of life admin functions that allow you to be productive, and then you say, hey, go and be unsupervised for 2 days a week, sorry, that's not going to lead to good outcomes. And it's going to slow down the rate at which they learn those skills.
I'd also argue, like, you're going to lose out on a lot of potential friendships and relationships because a lot of those friendships and relationships come out of proximity.
Yeah.
You know, we worked in the same office together, or we saw each other in the elevator every day.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many. So I used to work in HWT, which is the Herald Sun's Weekly Times building. And that was back when they took up the whole building. And every morning, like, it was bustling. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, in Melbourne on the river of the Yarra, there's a little enclave there called Southgate. It's like it was a selection of bougie-ish shops because it's quite touristy because that's where all the big hotels are. And then behind that was the Herald Sun building, and I think it's like 16 floors. And back when magazines were massive, that's where I worked.
Yeah.
And so in that little Southgate area, there was like a massive food court, and then there's a bit more of a bougie food court, and restaurants and things like that. And it used to be pumping. And then next door was IBM, I believe. And I don't know if it's still IBM, but
Don't know. I haven't been in the city for years.
but it was a dual tower, so we all shared a similar foyer, but then you go in one or whatever. And so you think about it, thousands of people that I was potentially crossing paths with, and the conversations I had. And I remember a guy asked me on a date once, and like, you know, I made friends with the local barista, and then it turned out that, you know, we had a lot in common, and you don't have those relationships anymore.
Just think of how much your immune system was being continuously built, updated every single morning and evening with, what's the latest patch? What's the latest update? What's the latest variant?
Yes.
Yeah, be good for you.
I remember catching V-Line, right? And this is back when they only
Speaking of viruses,
Yeah,
catching V-Line.
literally.
Yeah.
This is just when they brought out their Bombardier coaches. And, you know, at that point, there was only 3. So on the prime service from Geelong to Melbourne, there was only 3 carriages. You can imagine. We were
crowded.
like pushed in like Japanese people on a Tokyo train.
Yeah.
And most of the times you either stood up, and I would go and sit under the baggage a little bit.
Yep.
I'd sit on the floor basically. So you can imagine what I was exposed to on the floor. And,
charming.
you know, like, it is what it is. I'd take a coffee, and for an hour I'd just sit there in the baggage area, just
Wear the coffee all over your hand.
yeah, and just that was my normal for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then now, because I work from home, I don't see a lot of people. And so I've been into the city a handful of times the last couple of weeks, and I get a bit like, because you think about it, I'm isolated. And that's why when you bring your germs in here.
And your immune system is not being patched.
No.
See, my children are keeping mine patched by bringing everything home from school.
You're at that phase.
Yeah. They're keeping me well and truly up to date.
The kindy phase where you get every bit of gastro
All of
strain,
them.
and yeah,
All of them. Collect the whole set.
and it just goes around a circle, and you start back at the start.
Yeah,
again.
yeah, but it's a spiral. It's not a circle. It's a spiral. It's you're kind of back at the start, but it's now slightly different.
Anyway, no longer tangent. Next segment.
That was, by the way, thank you for reminding me that we'd gone on a tangent, because when you actually came back to the actual original subject that we had been talking about, I was like, oh wow, we went a long way off course.
That's the Oddcast.
Yes, it is.
Friend of the show.
Oh yeah.
Miss Abby Chatfield.
Yep.
Looking as deranged as ever. Do you know what I'm about to talk about?
I'm guessing you're going to talk about August the 31st.
August the 31st. We'll get to
There's a lot to say.
the bones of it in a second. But you're familiar with the Streisand effect?
Yes, absolutely. For anyone who's not, that's where... was it the South Park episode itself, or it was something earlier in Streisand's career, wasn't it?
It was literally Streisand. So she had a house in Malibu on some fragile cliffs.
Right.
And the house was built so close to the cliffs, and that had a lot of erosion problems.
Yeah.
And a paparazzo or a press section had gone out there and taken photos of the property
Right.
In a helicopter and published them, not even in a big part of the press, I think more in like a niche climate discussion.
Sure.
And she was outraged. And so she sued the photographer, and I think she sued the press outlet.
Right.
And in doing so, like, it was removed, but then it became the talk of the town that Streisand's suing. So everyone was like, well, I want to see this photo.
I want to see the photo, yeah.
And so in the end, what happened was the photo that she tried to get removed from the internet ended up becoming prolific.
Yeah.
And it's super well known and documented. So much it now has its own term.
Well,
the
yeah,
Streisand
the
effect.
Streisand effect, and they mocked it in South Park, which was very fun.
What's her name? Barbara
Streisand, yeah. Barbara Streisand. Strei.
Is she still around?
I actually don't know. She was very, very talented in her time.
She's like 60s era. Is that her era?
Yes, 70s, 60s, 70s.
So these are the...
very, tremendously talented in her time, and an artist, credit where it's due.
She is very close to the cliff now that I'm looking at it. If you decide to load.
That's all right. It's the internet.
Yeah, look at that. That pool is very close to that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want a landslide.
That's all right. Give it 100 years. It'll be gone.
It's worth hundreds of millions. And if we were listening to Greta, that should be underwater by now.
Should be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any minute now. It's just, you're just going to wake up one day and your feet will be wet.
Have you seen those? Oh, you would have seen the clips where all of a sudden just the cliff gives way and like there's a massive landslide and just go.
Yeah.
Didn't that happen somewhere recently?
Just in India, there was a mudslide, so they had huge amounts of rain. I think it was in India, and there's footage of it all just
coming down the hill.
Valley, and
yes,
I believe quite a few people were killed. I mean, the power of that.
I remember watching the footage and go, "Oh, that is not good."
Yeah, no, not at all.
Again, tangent.
I believe it was Abby Chatfield we were talking
Right.
about,
So-
and the Streisand effect that she has created.
So there is the protest, which we'll go into in a second.
Yeah.
But Abby Chatfield has, of course, jumped on it and started basically calling anyone that believes we should fight for Australia a racist because, of course. I gotta say, it's really fucking tedious.
Yeah,
That's the first
and
thing.
it's so shallow.
It's xenophobic.
Yeah.
It's bigots. It's racism. It's Nazis. Like, honey, get some more material.
Yeah.
We just know now. That's like you have the intellectual depth of a puddle because everything is racist to you.
Yeah. Now, having said that, what we do also know is that those types of people will jump onto an event like this and try and corrupt it and own it. And we've seen that. Tommy Robinson has come out trying to say, oh, other groups are trying to claim our protest. Well, actually, that was him trying to claim the protest. It wasn't his to start with. I'll go into so I now understand how all that came about. I know who's involved in public and also some of the ones involved behind the scenes.
Well, to give people some context for what we're talking about, there is a mass protest planned for August
the 31st, nationwide.
And Abby Chatfield has jumped on this and she's unleashed, calling it full of fucking losers and freaks.
So the official line of the protest is that it is an anti-mass immigration rally. That is what they're saying publicly. I'll go into some of the details in a minute and tell you about what they're saying to each other. Not so much privately, it's still public, but they didn't think anyone else was listening, but it got recorded on X, and we've got all of that now. We've got the receipts. What they're saying publicly is not what their objective is privately, but we'll go into all of that in a minute, because I still think if you're inclined to go, I'm not going to go because I'm not opposed to immigration. I've been very public about that all the way through. I'm a libertarian. I believe that immigration is a good thing. We are just doing it wrong and creating perverse incentives. So I'm not going to go simply for that reason. But there are a lot of people that do plan to go, and I have some thoughts and some advice, if you do plan to go, on how you can protect yourself a little bit from being branded as being as crazy as this woman here.
I'm sorry. Well, I know we talk about her all the time. I'm trying my hardest to not just pay her out, but this isn't normal behavior.
Oh, but we've said this how many times now? We say this every second or third week.
Yeah.
We're going, this, like, she's on something.
The facial expressions are one thing, but
Yeah.
it's she does this thing, and I don't know what you would call this. I think TikTok would diagnose it as a tick, where she talks to the camera and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then she comes back and then she's like,
yeah.
and she does these weird body movements.
Yep.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Not
that's
normal is what that is.
I don't know if that's like her trying to be sexy to like keep people's attention. I don't know what it is. I'm pathologizing her.
Trying to keep attention in the TikTok generation. But also, hasn't she noticed by now the futility of it all? Does she really actually think she's achieving anything at this point in time?
I think, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here. I think these people live in such an echo chamber
Yeah.
that in her world, this is monolithic.
Yeah, she's fighting the fight.
This is huge.
Yeah.
It's like the Sydney Sweeney thing. Statistics came out today that only 12% of the American population, based on data,
Yeah.
were offended by that ad.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, it's tiny, but it feels big because on social media, those clips
sure,
are
but we
going
knew
mega
that.
viral.
Yeah, we knew that. And half of the people that say they're offended by it are saying that because they were told that they should be
Correct.
offended. If no one had told them to be offended, they never would have been.
But remember, someone like Abby, who's chronically online, that's all she sees. So
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
just seeing she's in one of those mirror houses.
Yeah,
Where every
yeah.
reflection is like, oh my God, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, honey, just step outside. It's not that bad.
Yes.
So that's good old chats.
So she's given free advertising to this event on August 31st, which we do need to talk about. And I had hoped to kind of not have to talk about this.
I've got your little...
Yes, I'd hoped not to talk about this. But it turns out that someone, and I don't know for sure whether this is the organisers or just someone who's supporting the event. I have a theory, but I'm not sure. Has decided to use a clip of me speaking at a lockdown rally or a post-lockdown rally. This was a gathering. The truck setup happened at a few different locations, so I'm not 100% sure of exactly which one this is. But this is after the police stopped cracking down on the protests, and they've got a clip. Play the clip.
All right. Hang on, I'll start again, sorry.
Get involved. There is no room for spectators anymore. Thank you very much for being here. Get active. Get involved.
All right.
There is no...
So that's my closing remarks at the end of whatever it was that I said on that particular day, which would have been relevant to the particular fight that we were fighting at the time. And they've gone and made this about August the 31st. 31st of August, bring your flags, Australian flags, etc. Now, I was not asked. The organisers, I know who they are. They know who I am. Have not asked me what my position is, whether I'll be coming or anything like that. And I think they haven't asked me because they know what my answer would be. And so I think there's a certain level of cynicism here where they are misrepresenting me and misrepresenting the rally by association with me. And the fact that this has been published forces my hand, and now I have to come out publicly and actually state my position, which they're not going to like.
Yeah.
But wouldn't have been necessary had they not actually basically involved me against my will and initially without my knowledge. This was sent to me by a fan. So here's the unfortunate reality. The genesis of the idea of the August 31st rally was innocent enough. It came from a AI-generated video. So there was a young guy, started a TikTok account, young guy full of testosterone, looks like probably some mummy issues, started an account for the purpose of making AI-generated images of beautiful women, often in swimsuits or other situations, saying how much they love Australia.
Yep.
Right? And it was a love AU or love my AU or something like that was the account on TikTok. Released a video saying we need to rally, and it went mega viral.
Yeah.
And what happened then was someone who I know and someone who did some really good work during COVID. This is the tragedy of the current situation. Someone who did some really good work during COVID, a lot of courage, a lot of guts. She reached out, and she's said this publicly. I'm not going to say who it is, but she has said publicly this is how it worked. She saw that video, and she reached out to the person who held the account and said, hey, are we doing this? Like, what are you organising? What have you got in mind? Discovered that it was actually a young kid who just played with AI and made videos that suited his fancy and had gone mega viral, and this thing was just freaking him out.
Yeah.
So she stepped in and said, well, hey, what if I introduce you to people in each state around Australia who can help to organise this event?
Yeah.
And the guy said, yep, have it. I don't want anything more to do with it. So she then pulled together a team of people in different states to then organise these rallies. And they are, regardless of the genesis, the guy that actually mooted the idea is now no longer involved, and what happens next is no reflection on him. The people that were brought in to basically spearhead this in each state, well, when they talk amongst themselves, and we have, and I'm doing a video on this. I literally made, this has been my week. This is what's made my week hell, and why I started this episode by taking some painkillers. I'm not sleeping at the moment. I made a video and it was finished overnight last night. My editor wonderfully stayed back at work and worked late to finish it. And then I watched it first thing this morning when I got up at 5, and I looked at it and went, I can't publish that. It's not, I'm the guy that brings balance and nuance, but also clarity, not mealy mouthed, whatever, like balance and clarity into these really difficult situations. And I wasn't happy that my video did that sufficiently. So now I understand what it is that I need to do better in that video. So I'm going to be rewriting it in the drive on the way home and re-recording it tonight. It'll get edited and I'll release that tomorrow. So as you're watching this, if you're watching the premiere, this will come out tomorrow with all of the audio and all of the receipts on this. The people involved in the actual organising of this protest do not see a distinction between defending Australian culture and defending white culture. And that is their words, right? They say these are the same thing, and I've got the audio, I will play the receipts. So the organisers are, I wouldn't go so far as to say white supremacists. I know some of these people, not well, I haven't seen them in years, and some of them have really radicalised since COVID. During COVID, they were really good, really sound. And one of their stories is actually a little bit tragic, and I have a lot of sympathy for her particular situation, but she's radicalised since then. And so this is the position that they hold. This is the view that they hold.
Yeah.
But they talk about, and again, I've got the receipts, they talk about how we need to, the messaging needs to be the messaging that's acceptable to the public. So we're going to talk about defending Australian values, but we know that it's the same thing as white values. Yeah. Right? And that's what they're talking about. We also know, in addition to that the actual Nazis, so I don't think these people are actual Nazis. I think they would see a very big difference between themselves and actual white supremacists. To everyone who's nowhere near them, you look at them and go, well, you're all in the same basket. You're all the same thing. It's a little bit like how a democratic socialist sees a vast difference between themselves and an actual communist. Yes. But the rest of us look and go, well, no, but you're kind of the same thing, guys. Same. Like, you're splitting hairs here. It's the same thing on that side. So they would be terribly offended at the thought that they were being called a Nazi. Like, no, those people over there are the Nazis. We're not. Well, you're really freaking close to them. However, the actual Nazis have made it very, very clear that they intend to hijack these events and turn them into publicity stunts for themselves. Does that mean that people shouldn't go? Well, no, actually. It doesn't automatically follow that people shouldn't go. Now, I'm not going because I don't agree with being anti-immigration. That's not my stance, and I'm not going to go there just for the sake of showing up and what have you. But if you're thinking about going, there's a couple of things I would really, really, really encourage you to do. Number one, have and encourage a culture of non-mask wearing. If you start to realize that you're in a group of people and there's a few of them wearing masks and that sort of stuff, probably time to remove yourself from that area of the rally and go find a different area of the rally. Pay attention to the signs that are around you. Now, the organisers are saying all the right things. Now, like I said, what they're saying and what they mean are actually two different things, but they are saying all the right things. No violence, Australian flags only, don't bring trouble, everyone's welcome, all colours are welcome, all of that. But then in their private conversations, they're saying, we can't believe that people are trying to paint this as a unity movement. That's literally what they say. This is not a unity movement. That they're including brown people and they're including coloured people because they recognise that for the optics they have to. Yes. But actually, that's not what this is about. They want to end all immigration, and they view the Australian culture that they view themselves as fighting for. They mean white culture, and they say that. I've got the receipts on that. So if you're planning on going, I suggest go with a group. Right. I would really encourage you, meet up with people that you know, or organise a group to arrive as a group. If you are a person of colour, I don't believe you're going to be harassed or given any trouble there whatsoever. So I wouldn't allow that to be the thing that stops you from going. But just be aware that whilst in the sea of people, the vast majority of people will be Aussies who are standing up for Australia. This is the thing. We need a moment like this. There is so much wrong with our country. We need a moment of mass uprising. And this is why I'm not coming out and saying, hey, don't go. This is what grieves me so much. This could have been such a powerful moment if only a different person had reached out to this kid in the first place rather than someone who took it in this direction. But we need this moment of unity. But understand that whilst you and almost certainly the vast majority of other people who are there will be there as a unity movement to stand up for Australia against government, the people who are actually behind it and the people who are likely to end up getting the sound bites in the media are actually against not only immigration, but they are against immigrants.
Yeah.
Right? And they say as much.
Yeah.
So understand that that's the moment. That's what it is. Now, I'm sorry, that's not good news. And people don't want to hear that. And that leaves a lot of people with a tough decision to make about whether they attend or whether they do not.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that just is what it is. I think the moment is good. I think the idea is good. I think where the idea came from was pure and had every good intention. I think it's been taken in a direction where now there is a very high probability that the people that show up, however many there may be, are going to be used as a backdrop for a publicity stunt to bring a message that those people don't actually agree with.
Yeah. I support I know we're different on immigration.
Yeah.
I think it absolutely has to be slowed down to basically none. And I think before we take in people from war zones, particularly the Gazans, they need to be vetted. I stand by that.
Sure.
And if that's racist, then so be it. Because I look at the fabric of Australia and the way people are so polarized and the way people just have so much contempt for each other.
Yeah.
Not to mention, obviously, the crime. Until we can start to nut things out,
Yeah.
I think adding more stress onto rentals, onto government
Services,
support
et cetera.
systems and all that, it needs to just chill out.
It definitely makes the symptoms worse, but it doesn't change the fact that in my view, immigration and immigrants have become the scapegoat. The problem is government and mismanagement.
Yes, the problem is government, but also a lot of the migrants, I know we've talked about this before, and this is a contentious point for some people. We talk about the Greeks and the Italians and the Macedonians and the Vietnamese. Most of them were enterprising. They came here, they set up their communities, they built businesses, they put money in the economy. And I support that. They didn't come here to live off our government systems. They didn't come here to get free housing. They didn't come here for handouts and also basically bite the hand that was feeding them.
Yeah, sure.
They came here going, I want to go to a better place. I want to do this. A lot of the people who are coming in here are looking at Australia like, oh my God, this is like candy store.
It's a honeypot.
Correct.
But that's a government problem. We have created perverse incentives.
Yes, I understand
right?
that. I understand what you're saying.
And my concern is we could see massive rallies against mass immigration. Let's say some miracle happens and they get everything they want and the door gets closed. All of the problems remain.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to go home and go, oh, thank God we fixed that. And then 2 years later, they're going to be like, hang on, how come our problems haven't gone away yet? Well, because you weren't rallying about the actual problem. You were rallying about something that made the symptoms worse. If everyone was getting richer and housing was affordable and our economy was humming along, our regulatory state wasn't sapping our wealth, I don't think many people would be that bothered by the number of immigrants coming in.
Well, the crime thing's a big side of it.
Well, okay, but again, that's a government issue. We talked about that
Yeah.
in detail. The government is failing to enforce our laws equally on everybody.
Yeah.
That's a government failing. Fix the government. The perspective on immigration changes radically, and also the kinds of people that we attract changes radically if we start enforcing our laws properly, not handing out welfare, and actually expecting, you come here, you be enterprising.
Yeah.
Now, I know plenty of Sudanese people who are enterprising. They're business owners. One of the GPs that one of my kids sees regularly is Sudanese, and the person who owns the clinic is Sudanese. Not related to each other. They both came over. So one's running a business, a very successful medical clinic in a large regional town, and one is a GP that's fabulous with kids and does a really wonderful job. Many of them are doing that, but the percentage of them that have come here to mooch off of taxpayers and to commit crimes are not being dealt with by our government.
Yeah.
It's a government problem. So coming back to the rally, if you want to go, go. I'm not going to be here saying don't go. I suspect these are going to be massive because there are big problems that we are facing right now. And I would love for this to be a moment where Australians come together to unite against the enemy. The problem that I've got with this rally is that, in my opinion, they've identified the wrong enemy. And doing the wrong thing is worse than doing nothing. Heading in the wrong direction can be worse than heading in no direction at all. Having said that, I think they're going to be massive. I think these are going to be huge, enormous crowds.
I hope they are big, enormous crowds because this is the other thing too. The NSN, they're going to be there.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But these kids, and a lot of them are young, they're wearing balaclavas and all black. They're easy to figure out who's who. If you need to cover your face, you're a coward.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. If you want to be a neo-Nazi, at least take the balaclava off. But what I get frustrated with, and we noticed this a lot with the lockdown protests, there were lots of protests right up until the big one, November 27th. Prior to that, there had been a lot of different factions of people, like you said, and it wasn't taken seriously because a lot of the people who were motivated to go were people who were talking about get the pedophiles in government and all that sort of
messy
stuff.
Messaging and all of that.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it was messy messaging, and it made the people who were your average Joes, your silent majority,
Your normies.
not want to go.
Yeah, correct.
It took until that final last big one that the normies came out
Yeah.
because the messaging was kill the bill.
Yeah, and also because the police had stopped kicking heads at that point, all the people who were afraid suddenly felt like they could come out. So let me make a couple of clear statements. I hope that these rallies are so big that the message that anyone who tries to bring in a white message is completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right? What would be terrible is if only a few thousand people show up and then the NSN get to do a stunt and it looks like it was their thing.
Yeah.
I want this to be so big that they become a pimple on its ass.
Yeah, and
Right?
also
That's
people
what I
hold them
hope for.
accountable. Like,
Yeah,
go away.
correct. You see someone in a mask, tell them to F off, or at
Yeah.
the very least take that mask off, stop being a coward.
If you
right?
see people holding signs like White Australia, you know,
any of that nonsense.
get away from it.
Yeah, get away from it or get them out. I mean, I think a great formula for this was actually given to us and shown to us by Nick Patterson.
Yeah.
So he organised a counter march after we saw a large Islamic group gather around St. Patrick's Cathedral, and they were commemorating a holy day for themselves, and they did some kind of a chant and some kind of a gesture, and it looked like a pretty aggressive. From a cultural point of view, like, okay, you're standing here in defiance of the country that welcomed you in. And Nick took exception to that. I think most of us would. And he organised a reply protest.
Yeah.
But of course, the NSN wanted to do the same thing. They wanted to jump in and claim it as their own and pretend like they use these things as recruiting opportunities. Is really what they're trying to do. And Nick, of course, so Nick, he cut his teeth during all the COVID stuff. He was fantastic during all of that. And he's the man behind the Peacemakers.
Yeah.
And so he had them out in force. And anyone who was trying to hide their identity and anyone who was, even if they weren't trying to hide their identity, but it's like, oh, that's whoever from the NSN. It's like, no, you're out.
Yeah.
And if they don't leave, then they get brought to the police. The police attention gets brought. We don't want this guy. He's not one of us.
Yeah.
Now, that's the way to do it. The difficulty we've got right now is that, as best as I can tell, the organisers, if they were to see Blair Cottrell or any of these people walking around, they're not going to say that because they're going to look at it and be kind of like,
Yeah.
right? And so I think there's some risk here. I think for those of you that believe in the message, the anti-immigration message, get behind it. Go for it. And try and make this thing so big that it's not possible for it to be hijacked. Make sure that social media is flooded with positive messages and examples of Australians coming together around a unity message, and just completely overwhelm. Because the Achilles heel for the organisers, a lot of them are trying to stay anonymous. The Achilles heel is that then they don't have authority in messaging.
Yes.
Right? And when the media says, oh, who can we talk to? Who are the organisers? Well, who's going to step forward? Which one? Like, there's a few that have come out publicly now, and they may well end up being the ones that get in front of the camera. I know who these people are, and they'll say all the right things on camera, but I also know what they say privately and what they view this as really being for. And I'll have all of that in my video tomorrow. So I'm not going to say don't go. I'm going to say if you plan to go, do everything you can to make this as big as possible. Stay aware of your surroundings. Watch out for large groups of people or just numerous people in masks. Read the signs that are near you, including the ones that are in front of you that you can't read from the back. Have someone in your group just walk forward and have a quick read and make sure it's all good because they're the signs you're going to get photographed with, right? And I would stay away from the front.
Yeah. I want to bring your attention to this guy. You may have seen him on social media. He's all over my feed at the moment. He goes by Big Chocky on Instagram and X.
Right.
His name is Chris Catalaris. And he is saying a lot of the right things. And I agree with quite a lot of his messaging, but he's brought to attention that last year, 20,000 humanitarian visas were granted.
Yep.
Top 3 countries were Afghanistan, so 6,961.
Yep.
Syria, 2,804. Iraq, 1,843.
Yep.
And he's gone on to say that these are war zones, these are terrorist hotbeds,
Yep.
places where proper vetting is almost impossible.
Yeah.
The moment they land here, they get access to Centrelink, free healthcare, and free medicines.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Aussies are waiting for months. Now, here's the thing. I agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with him in the superficiality of his statement. I think that we should take in people,
Yep.
but this is where you and I disagree. I believe they should be vetted. And there is a way of vetting people prior to them being granted a visa. And we just saw an example of this, the Gazan woman that was going to come here.
Sure.
And she's just been had a visa revoked.
Yeah.
Great. That's how it should be done.
But that was only because she said what she said publicly. There's a lot of people who would believe the same as that, but there's no evidence online.
Correct. And so this is the thing. Okay, if we're going to bring in these people. Now, of these Afghanis, how many of them are the people who aided Australians and US, right?
I think we have a duty of care to be bringing those people in.
And I want to be on the record as saying that having met plenty of these people, they're lovely people. And a lot of them do want to come here for a good life.
Yeah.
And those people deserve the opportunity. But there should be, and until the government builds this system, and it's not that hard. It's hard because the government ties everything up with regulation and bureaucracy. But, okay, you get granted a interim visa, which gives you access. And we will help you, get somewhere to stay and things like that. But you have a one-chance policy.
Yeah.
You or anyone in your immediate family break the law, do something bad, out.
So
no tolerance.
Yeah.
Your 14-year-old goes and invades a home.
Yep.
The whole family.
Yeah.
And people might say that's cruel. It's not cruel. It sets precedent. You only need to do that a handful of times, and people go, "Hey, in Australia, they don't fuck around."
Yeah. So we definitely need to get to the point where people say, "Hey, in Australia, they don't fuck around," and that applies to Australians who commit crimes as well.
I agree.
Like, we've got to stop fucking around.
Like pedophiles that can go on European holidays.
Yes, exactly. But we've also, we had a thing called a temporary protection visa. This was a thing that I think John Howard brought in during the Bosnia-Herzegovina conflict, the civil war. And we actually ended up with, directly across my back fence, I grew up with a family. The couple were named Behazad and Aisha, and their family name is Haziakmedovic. It was just a fabulous, it was great to say
mouthful.
their names. Behazad and Aisha Haziakmedovic. And they were lovely. They had two kids. We used to play with them. They came over on these temporary protection visas, and there were some specific caveats on them. They were not a pathway to citizenship. Mm-hmm. So the years that you spent here living on that temporary protection visa did not count towards citizenship. If you wanted to come in under citizenship and with a pathway to citizenship, you had to come in through the normal means.
Yep.
So something like that needs to be done, I think, with the humanitarian side of things. But also I think we can learn from what Canada have done in the past. And their system's not perfect either, but I think this is good, where people get brought in, but they are sponsored by someone who is here as a citizen. Now, we would have to be careful about how we did this, because we give people citizenship so fast that we could just create a chain of people, pulling their mates in for all the wrong reasons. But a family or a person saying, I am willing to accept responsibility for this individual or for this family that we're bringing over for 2 years.
Yep.
If they don't have somewhere to live, that's not a government Centrelink welfare problem. That's a me problem. If they're not learning the language, that's a me problem. If they need a job, that's a me problem.
Yeah.
And to set things in place so that people get held accountable to actually look after these people.
There is no way the Australian government would bring that in.
So because it would be requiring people to actually put their money where their mouth is.
I saw this comment and I have no idea. Maybe you can answer it. I found out this week there is a loophole. If after 6 months the person says they are feeling lonely and have no family here, they are then allowed to get visas for their extended family and bring them here too.
Wow.
The pressure on services is at breaking point. Just look at traffic, trains, hospitals. I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Worth having a look into. But again, the issue here is the people we're bringing in don't like our way of life.
Yeah.
Not all,
Sure.
but many.
By no means all, but a significant minority of them.
Correct.
Yep.
And they come here, they set up their own enclaves, and they keep sprouting that message. Now, we've seen plenty of examples of these Muslim clerics who are getting up there saying that you will all be Muslim by, blah, blah, blah. Instant deport.
This is the tolerance paradox again.
Are we a Christian country? Are we a nothing country? Like, what are Australian values? We talk about values on a personal level. What does this country stand for? Multiculturalism, in my opinion, has failed.
Yeah. So, however, multiculturalism has to be separated from multi-ethnic. Now, and this is where, in my opinion, the organisers of this protest go wrong. They say Australian culture comes from Europe. European culture is white culture. So therefore, this is a rally for white culture. That's literally the chain of logic that they articulate in these recordings that I'll be playing. And historically they're not wrong.
Yeah.
That is exactly correct historically. But that it does not follow that only white people can now be a part of this culture.
Yeah.
Right? So multiculturalism, I agree, has failed. That doesn't mean that we have to stop people of other ethnicities and people who have grown up in other cultures from coming here.
Yeah.
It means that we actually have to have some confidence about what it means to be Australian and what Australian culture is, and have a love it or leave it type of attitude. So it doesn't follow just because you want to have a homogenous culture that is based on the European Western Enlightenment ideals that Australia was founded on and the Judeo-Christian ethic that Australia was founded on. It doesn't follow that therefore you have to keep out brown people.
Yeah.
Like that is a non sequitur. One of these things does not lead to the other. My concern with this particular rally is the organisers, based on what they're saying in these X spaces, etc., that appears to be what they believe. That actually, in order to come back to the Anglo-Australian culture that we inherited, yes, from white Europeans, we have to make Australia white again, and that's not the case at all. And we can find person after person who, second, third generation Australian, who their DNA might be Chinese or wherever, but they are Australian. They're as Aussie as you or I, and they if they went back to China, they would not fit in. They would never fit in culturally. And so this isn't in our DNA. Our culture is not in our DNA. Our culture is the choices and the decisions that we make on a day-by-day, moment-by-moment basis, adding up to a way of life. Now, Australians have not been allowed to celebrate our culture for a very long time. And that's the fruit of what we're seeing now. What we're actually seeing now is the faux compassion that we are supposed to have had has now pushed things to the point where things are breaking down. We haven't kept, government has failed on the immigration side of things, not in my opinion because of the numbers, but because they've completely handcuffed us from being able to build the infrastructure and build the Australia that can actually have this many people quite happily. But what we do need to do is, number one, regain our confidence, and just say, these are our laws. Yeah, if you break them, you go home. Tell the bleeding hearts to shut up. And this needs to happen at multiple levels. So firstly, if a 14-year-old is breaking and entering, send him home. Right. And if you send him back to wherever his home country was. And if that upsets you because he's going to suffer over there, toughen up. Bad luck. Right. Like you said before, we only have to do that to a few of them. Now, I don't personally agree with sending the whole family. I think that's punishing people who didn't commit the crime. But I think if you send that 14-year-old and you take that hardline approach, then...
The thing about the family, though, and I mean, I know you and I disagree with this, that precedent is, it's a costly mistake. That's the thing. The consequence far outweighs the fun that you'll have in that moment. So let's say, for example, hypothetically, a 14-year-old Sudanese kid goes and commits a home invasion, is wielding a meat cleaver, and steals a car and a wallet and whatever. They get bailed. They should be immediately kicked out of the country, no questions asked, and the family. Because
why the family?
Because what that then does is tell the local community of that area, this is zero tolerance. And it's not about ruling by fear, right? And I know you're going to disagree with me, but just hear me out. It's not about ruling by fear. It's about saying the consequences to this are so high that you will parent your child in a way that completely reduces any possible avenue for them to go and pursue this as a level of fun. You will instill in them good values. You will participate in this. And a lot of people say, oh, they've come from countries like South Sudan, which is, in conflict and civil war, and they don't know any better. I'm sorry, bleeding heart, I don't care. I don't want to have my arm amputated by a machete.
They don't get to bring that war here just because they grew up with it. So I agree with you on the individual. But what you're trying to bring about is the effective group punishment. And group punishment is something that gets used a lot in contexts like militaries, sports teams, these sorts of things. One of you didn't meet the standard, all of you have to do push-ups. All of you are going to be punished in this or that way. Our legal system is founded entirely on the principle that I am not responsible for what you do. And you are not responsible for the things that I've done. And that would be a dangerous...
Isn't there protocol around the age of if it's a minor, a 14-year-old, and they have a visa, surely that visa is attached to the parent's visa?
Sure, but the fact that they've committed a crime, I don't think warrants the revoking of anyone's visa but the person that committed the crime. And I think what you'll find is a lot of the effect that you're looking for will be attained just by sending a couple of 14-year-olds home.
But this is the thing. This is where, if you're going to tease this out, okay, let's say that family's come over here and back in wherever, let's say South Sudan or North Sudan, wherever, that 14-year-old wouldn't have any family to live with. The judge wouldn't rule that because you'd be arguably sending that child to somewhere where they have no support.
But this is why I'm saying we have to tell the bleeding hearts to shut up.
No, but like I think that's worse. So the 14-year-old has a family here, but then we deport them and separate them from the family.
Well, the family can go back if they choose to, but I don't believe that we should set a precedent where we're punishing other people for the crimes of the one. I mean, if the family actually cared about their kid, they wouldn't let them commit the crime in the first place.
I hear what you're saying ideologically, but this is, I think, where you and I differ, is I've been impacted by the crime.
Sure.
And I can guarantee that those kids are going home and no consequences whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they have only been emboldened by it. And I've argued this when it comes to NIAB, and I think we even talked about Andrew Tate when he was saying something.
Yeah.
I think it has it's gone well beyond sitting here and arguing about like how it looks in an idealistic ideology way. It's like, no, done. You fucked around.
Okay, but understand, I'm not arguing do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm arguing instant deport for the individual who committed the crime. Right, that is a radical departure from where we are now, and that will have a dramatic effect.
I think that the Labor and the Greenies there's just no way.
Sure, but nor are they going to back sending the whole family either,
No.
right? So we're talking about a hypothetical that unfortunately isn't going to happen. But I think even in our hypotheticals, we need to consider the human rights implications, because once we start breaking, if a government can do whatever it wants in the ways that you like, it can also do whatever it wants in the ways that you don't. So breaking down these safeguards is something that needs to be done very carefully.
I want to play this clip. So this guy, like I said, he's going everywhere, and you guys are probably familiar with him. He does make a lot of good points, but so he is Greek, I believe, and this is kind of the sentiment now. So you've got a lot of men who are using their pent-up frustration, and now it's coming out. And look, to someone like Abby Chatfield, this probably does sound like nationalism.
Yeah.
What is the line between being proud to be Australian and then going full nationalist?
So okay, before you play that, we need to make a couple of distinctions here. Nationalist isn't necessarily racist at all.
It's been co-opted.
It's pro-Australian.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is ethno-nationalist.
Yeah.
Where they say, I'm pro-Australian, white Australian.
But there's no distinction with that at the moment.
Well, that's correct. And that's why the organisers of the protest for the 31st are, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, and I'll play you in a video tomorrow, it is my opinion that they are ethno-nationalists.
Yeah.
They're not neo-Nazis, they're not white supremacists, but they are ethno-nationalists.
They want a white Australia.
They want a white Australia, and they might make a concession for the people that already got in, but they'll do that begrudgingly, and they're certainly not going to let any more in. And they're openly saying to each other in these chats that they think it's crazy that people want to turn this into a unity movement against mass immigration. It's like, no, we're opposed to immigrants. Like, we just don't want any of those things.
Yeah. So do we retroactively revoke the visas of like people who've been in the 60s?
I don't know. At a practical level, I don't know what they have in mind. But we need to understand nationalism and wanting to defend Australia, which, by the way, I'm not a nationalist, but I'm going to defend nationalists because they get a bad name. Nationalism in and of itself is not a racist ideology.
Would you call Pauline Hanson a nationalist?
I would say Pauline Hanson is very much a nationalist. I would say that Jared Rennick is a nationalist. Nationalism is not inherently racist, but it often gets branded that way, like Pauline Hanson was branded as a racist, just for saying, hey, we should actually stand up for Australia and we should think about who we are and who we're becoming and what's best for us. Now, when she said that, she meant including the immigrants, like including new Australians. She wasn't trying to cut immigration off. She's concerned about how high the levels are. Obviously, a lot of Australians now agree with her on that. But she was never being racist with that. She was branded as a racist with that. So nationalism is different to ethno-nationalism. But unfortunately, the media won't make that distinction. And in the case of these particular protests, the people going need to make that distinction because the organisers, in my view, have crossed that line into ethno-nationalism.
All right, I'm going to play this clip for you.
What are your fondest memories of the Australia that you grew up in? Mine, freedom, safety, and I was proud of the place. The reason why I do the content that I do now is because I look at my children and I want them to experience exactly that. My content is not racially nor religiously motivated. It is purely motivated because I'm a father that will use my voice now so my children don't have to fight twice as hard to get what we once had. So if this resonates with you, share it far and fucking wide because we all know this place is changing. You can feel it. It's almost hard to ignore now. And there is nothing wrong with saying that we'd like it to be how it used to be. And that's my take from the controversial coach.
It goes on to say, if you don't like it, F off.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And nothing that is said in there is incorrect. Nothing that is said in there is incorrect. I liked this place better back in the 80s and 90s when I grew up here. But again, they're blaming the wrong thing. They're saying the immigrants are the reason why it's changed. Now, he's not explicitly said that, but implicitly, and what this protest, anti-mass immigration is all about is the immigrants are the reason why the place has changed. No, government is the reason why this place has changed.
Yeah.
We cannot breathe without a bureaucrat checking, wanting to tick a box.
Yeah.
That that leads into the immigration issue. That leads into the size of the welfare state, which makes us attract all the wrong kinds of immigrants who aren't here to actually work and make a better life for themselves through their own blood, sweat, and tears. They're here to mooch off the blood, sweat, and tears of other people.
Yeah.
It all comes back to government. And if this moment had been about people rising up against overtaxation, overregulation, welfare to people who don't need or deserve it, the complete failure to provide basic services, the failure to uphold law and order, if that's what this was about, I'd be there with bells on.
Yeah.
But they've channeled all of this frustration and anger, and they've directed it at something that, yes, has made the symptoms worse. But we can fix, in their view, we can fix the immigration issue, and none of these problems will go away. The symptoms will simply ease a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, man, this has been a heavy podcast.
This has been a heavy week for me. I wrote and rewrote that video multiple times, and like I said, I recorded it yesterday. My editor, hi Roy, sat up last night editing it into the night so that I could get up first thing this morning and it would be there ready for me. And I watched it and I went, I can't put that online. I haven't walked that line delicately enough. And it's not that I'm trying to play both sides or anything. No. There is a way to be critical and firm and truthful that is still constructive. And I didn't quite hit that with this particular video. So now I'm going to rewrite it, re-record it. It's been a hell of a heavy week.
Yeah. Well, there is some good news.
Please help me out here.
Taylor Swift's got a new album out.
Oh, thank God.
Thought you'd appreciate
the world
that.
is saved.
She's got her 12th studio album and she announced it on her boyfriend's, or she is announcing it on her boyfriend's podcast.
She's still with the footballer?
Yeah,
dude? Yeah, okay.
she is.
Now, so I actually like some of Taylor Swift's music.
Yeah, some of it's all right.
I think she's lyrically clever. I think she's musically much more interesting than the vanilla pop music. I think she of the vanilla pop music genre, she is at the interesting end of it. I think she's done a good job of that. And I don't deny her talent. So all my criticism directed towards music before, again, I'm not saying these people aren't talented. They are. There is skill, there is technical skill, there is artistic skill. A lot of it ends up just feeling really, really same. But every album, to Taylor's credit, every album has a couple of songs that you go, okay, that doesn't feel like something I've heard before.
Do you know what's interesting is I did watch a really good deep dive into the music industry, and I agree with what you're saying, but I think there's a lot more nefarious industry stuff going on. So, I mean,
yes.
Michael Jackson and George Michael, Sony Music, for example, how they trap artists in contracts and make them put out what they want, not what the artist wants.
And explicitly, they trap artists, and Sony were notorious for this, trapping artists into contracts that were just not possible to fulfill.
Yes.
So they would have to deliver a certain number of new albums and new songs whilst also keeping up a certain touring schedule, whilst also keeping up X, Y, and Z. And it just wasn't possible. So they were designing contracts for the purpose of artists falling into breach.
Yes.
So that Sony could then just own everything.
Yes. And that was kind of what this YouTube clip was all about. But they were talking about how there's a lot of artists out there who wanted to put their material out there, but we never hear it because of these massive contracts. And so there's a lot of independent artists who are like, well, I can't take a contract on because it'll mean that you guys don't hear the music that I want. Yeah. So I don't actually, I've got to stop falling into that trap of going, there's no good music, because I think there's lots of great music. It's just, it's not elevated the way it should. Being independent makes it a lot harder, particularly if you don't have the money behind it. Like, just an example, as an artist, well, as you know, my first exhibition, the bill for it is insane. Yeah. And so much so that I was like, I actually don't know if I can put this exhibition on. And it's cost prohibitive because I've got to rent a space and then I've got to actually manufacture the artwork itself, not just make it. I've got to print it out. I've got to frame it. I've got to promote it. I've got to do all this stuff. And so I did a really quick costing, and without even blinking an eye, it's almost at 20K. Yeah. And whoa, okay, shit. Now, as I've said, like, for example, with my artwork, it's not necessarily commercial. So maybe some people like it, great. And if they buy it, I'd be stoked, by the way, please do. But that's not guaranteed. So, you know, I'm going to put $12,000 into making these 22 prints. Yeah. I'm not necessarily going to sell all 22. Yep. Then what do I do with them? Do you know what I mean? So, and unfortunately, that's part of the degree. To get it, I have to have the exhibition. So I think it's the same with young musicians trying to get gigs, trying to get more attention on it. Spotify takes so much of their stream. They get paid cents for every stream. And I think I heard I could be correct, like just massaging the numbers here, but for 1 billion streams, that only equals $1 million of revenue.
Right.
So someone like Coldplay,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
song's been heard 1 billion times.
Yeah.
You've only made $1 million out of that.
Yeah. Well, if I just do some quick numbers, so I make, let's call it $5,000 for 1 million views on YouTube. So then you multiply that by 1,000 to get to 1 billion views on YouTube. You would go to 5,000 times 1,000, you get to $5 million.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, and yes, okay, a YouTube video can't be compared to music. Okay, yeah, they're different mediums. They require different skill sets and different amounts of work and all the rest of it. But it's not a completely outrageous number. If I got 1 billion views on Facebook, if I put a video up on Facebook and I got 1 billion views there, I'd get a fraction of that amount of money.
Yeah.
I'd get way less than $1 million.
That's the thing I've seen in our comments, actually, people going, oh, you know, YouTube takes all their money. And like, look, they do. They take 60%. But no other platform gives you any money.
Well, no
Or,
other
like,
platform
very
comes
minimal.
close. So I can tell you the numbers. So YouTube's system is really sophisticated. It's actually brilliant. And your ad space on your videos is being bid on in an automatic bidding process that goes on. So the amount of money you make varies depending on how much demand there is from advertisers and how well YouTube can segment your audience to target it to advertisers that know that they want to advertise to those kinds of people, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But call it $5,000 per million views on YouTube. Now you can make a living doing that. If you fight tooth and nail and you make really high quality content, you can get 50,000 views a day.
Yeah.
Right. And you can do well.
Yeah.
Right. But 1 million views on Facebook, just hazard one guess. It's obviously less, but hazard one guess as to what 1 million impressions on Facebook would get you.
$20.
66.
Yeah. Wow.
1 million impressions on X, 33.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. Now these are my personal numbers that I've observed
And
based
it's
on my
5.5
revenue.
on 1 million on YouTube.
Call it 5 on average. Sometimes it'll be below, sometimes it'll be above.
Yeah.
1,000. Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is orders of magnitude apart.
Yeah.
There's no comparison. So I understand artists are frustrated, but also those platforms have given them access for people to essentially pay them a fraction of a cent at any moment of any day, anywhere in the world, via devices that the person paid for themselves. And they've de-risked an enormous amount of the music business as well, in the sense that you don't have a lot of the overhead that there was with releasing CDs and releasing albums, and in that sort of physical media sense required enormous risk, which they didn't have the upfront money for, which is why they had to sign the contracts in the first place. The reality is, there's never been a better time to be an artist. The world has never been consuming more creative content.
Yeah.
And there have never been more ways to market than what there are. Now, take someone like myself. I would argue that I'm essentially in the creative space.
Yeah.
I'm in a very specific niche of the creative space, but I am a content creator.
Yep.
The only reason I'm able to make this work at any level at all is because I already have my books written and I can sell those. I've got merch and t-shirts.
Yep.
And I've got YouTube revenue. And then it was when I added the buy me a coffee button. And every day, a couple of people send me $10, $20, whatever.
Yeah.
And when you add that all up, you go, oh, this actually works now.
Yeah.
So I get an artist sitting there going, well, I spent all the money to make an album. I released the album online and I can't make it work. Well, I spent all the time writing the books. I've spent so much money making videos and losing money on all of that. I get it. But there is a critical mass. There is a point where if you're good and if you attract an audience, you can eventually piecemeal this all together and start to pay bills.
Yeah.
And generally what happens is the time delay from that moment in time where you get to that break even to the moment in time when you're doing really well is often quite short, measured in just a couple of years. Whereas the time to go from zero to that break even point is usually measured in decades.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the difference. I'm 16 years in. I've done the decade and a half of hard grind, losing money, spending money, all of that for a decade and a half with no guarantee that I'd ever get there.
Yeah.
And where I'm at right now, full disclosure, I'm actually able to pay bills right now. It's mind blowing. I'm doing this full time and it's paying my bills.
Yeah.
Sometimes only just, but it is.
Yeah.
And then I can look forward to saying, well, okay, if I just keep plodding down this road, fast forward another 2 years, 3 years, the blue sky potential is there. And that's the payoff. That's why we do the 15 years of grind and we spend all that money and all that time and we waste 15 years of our lives is for the dream that one day we'll get to that point and it'll all prove to have been worthwhile.
Yeah.
I hope I get there. There's no guarantee even from where I am. So I understand the complaint from a lot of artists. But the same technology that gives you access to the market at a level never seen before also gives all of your competitors access to the market at a level never seen before.
Yeah, and I'd also argue that there's always opportunity. It's just a lot of it comes down to how savvy you are. And even though there's people I don't necessarily like, I'll see them market themselves on social media and be like, that's bloody clever.
Yeah.
Bloody clever.
Oh, I literally grabbed a YouTube channel that I only just came across. I can't believe I didn't know this guy existed. And I sent it to my wife and my question, just a link to one of his videos. What is this guy doing that I'm not? Because he's good. He's good at what he's doing, and he's getting really good results. The market is responding to what he's doing. And I'm looking at 16.
Who is this person?
I can't remember the name of the channel, but 16 years in,
Yeah.
and I'm still like, well, what's this guy got? Like, this is good.
It's a secret sauce. And I've realized that too. Like, I've been putting content on Instagram for like over a decade or more. And what I've realized is there was a way that I guess you have to do things and wait till it all sort of comes together. But I've now gotten to a point where my delivery is is landing in a way that my audience is like, yes, I will accept it this way.
Yeah.
Now, I saw so many different photographers doing this and then doing cool shots and then this, that, and the other. And I tried that and I didn't get any reach. It just didn't land.
Yeah.
And I think, in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't just go to Japan every weekend and take cool photos, can I?
Yeah.
And then I'd see other people doing things from like, get rich. Like, let's do this Alex Mosey. And I'm like, well, I don't really gel with that either.
Yeah.
And now what I'm doing is going, I'm a culture person. I care about culture. And so I'm writing like little 3-minute videos.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing really well. I was like, I found my secret sauce.
Yeah. Found your little thing.
Yeah, double down.
And that's it. And then be willing to grind and grind and grind. I'm not asking for sympathy, but this is literally my third 14 to 16 hour day in a row. Right? Monday,
You can see me yawning, by the way. I'm not being rude.
Yeah.
I'm really tired.
No, you got up early to get to Parliament House,
Yeah.
but this is the grind.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I've mentioned this before. I have now, after the last 6 months, a new appreciation for all those kind of egoistic songs from singers all about how, you weren't there for me when I was small. Now I'm standing on the stage and blah, 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 right?
Started from the bottom, now I'm here.
Yeah, and there's actually a really beautiful one. Now you see me standing in the lights, but you never saw my sacrifice.
Yeah.
And now I'm the last one standing, whatever. And they brought in some guest artists for the different verses. I really like that song. And I'm kind of like, it doesn't hit me with the same ego that it used to hit me with. It's like, oh yeah, you're a bit up yourself. I'm like, actually, like, years of loneliness, years of self-doubt, and then other people's doubt on top of that. Years of not being able to pay the bills and having the continuous temptation to just sell out and go do something corporate. I mean, I quit a corporate job. I had a corporate career, which I quit to come back to video making at one point. Married, having kids, always second-guessing myself. What am I doing? Is this the right path? And, do I just need to grow up the way that the people have
get
told
the
me
job,
to? All
be
that
stable.
stuff. And then for those ones that do get to the point where, their name's up in lights and they're up on that stage and there's tens of thousands of screaming fans and they're probably, so long as they're not idiots, they're never going to have to worry about money again in their lives. There would be that, not F you in that aggressive sense, but that like, told you.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
And there is a certain amount of that for me. It's like, I'm making it.
Yeah, I feel like that character development, that's what I call it. That's my nice little package name for it. Where you're in the grind and you're not getting anywhere, you're not making money, and you're getting rejected. People fear rejection. Honestly, it's the fast track to success.
Yeah.
The more you can tolerate being rejected, the better you'll do in life.
Yep.
And I've always been that sort of overly ambitious person. I'll put myself in situations. I've never feared rejection as like, they said no.
Yeah.
I'm like, next person.
Oh, next, yeah.
Whereas I've mentored plenty of people who hear rejection once or twice and they go, oh, that's so personal.
It hurts.
I'm like, dude, rejection's not personal. It's like they can't afford to pay you, they don't like your style, they literally can't be bothered right now. Like there could be so many reasons that had literally nothing to do with you personally.
Yeah.
Just keep going. And interestingly, I was like, I knew that post-COVID, like it would take a while to build back, but all of a sudden, I'm like, things are going good.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And I think in a weird way, if you didn't have that big chunk, would my work be as deep as it is? Probably not.
Yeah. But also, this is what we talked about, where people that don't have to do that work, they get elevated into that position without the work. They don't have the toughness and the skill
Well, they
set.
don't have that, but they're also like, I feel bad talking about Abby all the time, like, because I don't want to be just like shitting on her because it's easy, but someone like
She
that.
does make it easy.
She does.
She does, to be fair.
When I say she has the intellectual depth of a puddle, I'm not necessarily saying she's low IQ. I don't know her. I've not met her. But all of her content centers around the exact same argument.
Yeah.
Anything that's outside of her ideology or what she agrees with, racist, bigot, Nazi.
There's no construction of argumentation. There's no construction of ideas. There's also no intent to change anyone's mind. So she's a polemicist. She's polemic. She says the thing and attracts the crowd of people that already agree with her. Distinguish that from most of my work. Sometimes I do get a bit the same. But in most of my work, what I'm trying to do is meet people where they're at and bring them closer to where I think they ought to be.
Yeah.
So my focus is on actually influencing people in the genuine sense of the word, where someone like Abby is simply saying the thing that she knows, like moths to a flame, is going to attract an audience and give her that dopamine hit of likes and comments and all the rest of it.
Can we, like, I don't want to put you guys through it, but can I play her video?
I'm just aware of time because you need to,
Yes.
you've got a hard wrap up time this time.
We've got 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I want to play this clip of her freaking out because I want you to look at the way she speaks. It's always in a derogatory sense. It's always using expletives. It's always talking down to people. And it's like weird insulting to people's intelligence whilst also trying. Let's play it.
Yeah.
We're going to hear an ad first.
Wow. Abby, you've changed.
Sorry, guys. Mainstream media. Someone was like, you need a VPN. I do have one. I just never turn it on.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. Anyway. Oh, hang on. Pause. Where's the sound? I apologize, everyone.
Going to be a nationwide protest for the racists and the xenophobes of Australia to get together and march for Australia. Okay? They claim that it is about cost of living. They claim that it is about Australia gaining itself back, winning Australia back, taking Australia back from whom? No one knows. And this is nothing but a racist, bigoted, disgusting, terrifying rally. And for any immigrants that follow me or are going to see this video, please know you are welcome. And I know that doesn't feel like it. I know that this country does not make it easy for you, but please know that you are welcome. And these protests should be condemned by every Australian.
She goes on for 7 minutes. I won't put you through it, but
inflate your lashes with new Maybelline.
I do want to
Colossal
inflate my
Bubble
lashes. You know, I was thinking about that in the car on the way here.
what does inflate your
I
lashes
have
mean?
no idea. Don't ask me. So, I mean, there is a lot going on in that. Firstly, show some self-respect and actually have a script and know what you want to say when you sit down. I mean, we have off-the-cuff conversations diving in all sorts of directions that we haven't premeditated, and we can still string together a sentence better than what we just saw.
Especially when you're pre-recording it, just start again.
But also the white savior syndrome that is so evident.
Let me
in
speak.
her. I'm going to tell you that you are so welcome. You are so welcome here. It's really interesting to me that there were a lot of immigrants that stood up with us during COVID.
Yes.
There were a lot of people from other countries, particularly Eastern European countries. They were
who'd
very much
fled.
overrepresented, but many other immigrant communities as well who took those risks and stood with us. And I don't remember her coming out with a video saying, "Oh, look at these immigrants standing up for their country that they've come to. You know, isn't it wonderful that we brought them into Australia?"
Yeah.
I don't remember any of
No,
that.
she was too busy telling us all we were
Killing grandma. I
think she said a lot worse than that. But the reason I want to bring up Abby is it's like when you read their arguments, it's the same nonsense. It doesn't count. You're looking at the book.
I just have to just try and log it away.
You've got like 4 minutes to use it.
I know.
And but so this is the kind of what we're up against. And I look at Abby and I go, if you are a fairly like good deduction of what the people on the left are thinking, then I'm not worried because you can't like take away that. Let's say you said to Abby, "Hey, we'll have a debate," but you cannot use the word racist, Nazi, bigot, xenophobe.
Yeah. Oh, what's her vocabulary? She's got nothing.
She's got nothing because I think she knows what it means to a degree.
Yeah.
But what does it mean beyond the context of just saying this word?
Yeah.
I don't think she could argue the points.
But also, I don't remember her having anything to say about the insensitivity towards Iranian refugees of having the Ayatollah on display behind our elected politicians marching across the Sydney Harbour Bridge. She said nothing about a lot of different things, and she is beginning to be called out on that recently. And I'm not someone who believes that every influencer has to have an opinion on every single thing. In fact, I choose not to have an opinion on many different things. So I don't disagree with that. But when her whole thing is calling out, racism and xenophobia and everything else, it seems to me that when you have immigrants leaving political parties because they no longer feel welcome in that political party because that political party is supporting the very regime that they fled from to Australia, it seems that we have a bit of a problem.
Well, interestingly, remember when Abby was she was teaming up with Purple Pingers? She was...
what a match made in heaven.
What a match made in heaven. So Purple Pingers is on record saying, go and occupy and squat in houses.
Yep.
Rob them as well. Basically that's what happened.
If you find stuff that you like.
Take it.
Yep.
And she was also obviously campaigning for the Greens. So I just want to show you this screenshot. Abby Chatfield's new $1.875 million Tamarama apartment revealed.
Yep. So this is actually why she makes videos like that.
Correct. She is making bank.
Yeah.
And that outfit, by the way, is Age. And that outfit would be expensive. I dare say she was gifted it. But Abby ain't doing bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, okay, fine. She's found her niche. And this is why people love to be polemic online. This is what I've said over and over again. If I actually was a racist and I was able to just come out with xenophobic whatever, I'd be a much bigger influencer than what I am. I would have started making money 10 years ago. That would have been the easy road to just be polemic and attract to myself a bunch of people that already agree with me. That's never been how I roll. It never will be how I roll. I want to actually make a difference.
Well, if you do that, and I would argue that's what Abby, as you said, that's what Abby's done, but I would argue that's actually the shortcut way to make immediate success that will ultimately mean that you end up landing on your sword.
Well, yeah, and it will...
Because that exact crowd will turn against you when you're outside.
The revolution will eat its own children. That's always true. You and I are not exceptions to that.
Yeah.
That line in Batman, either you die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
That's true. And you and I will experience... It is. It's a great quote. But there will be multiple cycles of this. And you just need to sort of look around at the world of celebrities or politicians or what have you. And the arc of being vaulted up onto a pedestal and then dragged down, often by the very same people, only 6 years later to be vaulted back up onto another pedestal by the same people or the same movements over again and then dragged down again.
You know who's a perfect example of that? Wayne Carey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
After everything that man's done, how does he end up still becoming he's still got a show?
Yep.
He still gets in the media.
Yep.
I'm like, this man has as many comebacks as Don Lane. He just keeps coming back.
And this is the reality. So, probably the video that I'm going to release tomorrow about the August 31st march is probably going to trigger an enormous fall from grace in the minds and the opinions of certain subsets of the freedom movement.
Yeah.
It is, it's not possible to speak about a topic like this and not have someone decide that you're the devil. And like I said, I considered saying nothing at all, and I've been dragged into it because my face and my voice and my name, without my knowledge or permission, is being used to promote the event. So now, unfortunately, I have to wade into this. And I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to carefully parse the issues and separate one thing from another and talk about it from a couple of different perspectives. The thing that I want this to be a massively successful march that completely rejects any element of white nationalism. That's what I want.
Sadly, Purple Pingers isn't on our side.
Oh, no.
Purple Pingers has said, I also thought about not talking about it to not bring attention to it, but the only problem with that is that not bringing attention to them has not prevented them from growing. So I think it's time we oppose them, whoever they are or wherever they are. Abby and Purple Pingers, two peas in a pod.
Oh, yeah, power couple. So unfortunately, I've been dragged into this and I'm going to have to say some stuff. And in the minds of certain corners of people that used to love me during COVID, they're going to say, oh, he's turned, he's changed, he's become controlled opposition, he's become whatever.
They're doing the same to Rukshan,
They're doing it to Rukshan, Avi, Monica, the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now, can I just say, if you're a part of that movement and then a bunch of the people who you respected in that movement are raising the alarm and going, guys, maybe instead of assuming that every single one of those people is suddenly a bought and paid for shill, maybe consider that they might actually have some insight and their head screwed on their shoulders and be observing things that perhaps you're not so willing to see. That's all I'll say. But yeah, keep an eye out for a video on that tomorrow. honestly, I even said in the one that I'm not going to publish, I even said this is my least favorite video that I've ever recorded. Like I hate this. I hate that it has to be done. I hate that what could have been an amazing triumphant moment has been turned into what it's been turned into. And I don't say that to say that you shouldn't go, but you should definitely be aware of what you're going to.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I actually do have to wrap this podcast out because I have to go to a university lecture, literally.
To get your...
postgraduate degree.
Masters, I believe, is, so...
I get to have letters after my name.
If you weren't drunk enough already, I just helped you out a little bit there.
You only said Venezuela once.
I only did...
We should start getting Roy to put counters like ding, 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 ding,
Well, that would
ding.
require him to actually listen, though. And that's, I mean, well, I wouldn't want to torture him like that.
Roy, I want you to do that next time. You hear
But
Topher say...
he doesn't edit the whole podcast, though. He only creates segments out of the podcast.
Well, he's still listening to it.
Yeah,
so
well,
he might
true.
hear this.
Yeah, he might, yeah.
Well, I was going to finish by saying this. So talking about the Masters exhibition and how expensive it is, I was like, yeah, I'm going to obviously put as much money into it as I can. But I was like, also, I have a great audience. I'm going to make something that they can purchase to basically fundraise for it. And I've had a really positive response.
Nice.
Not to compete with our merch,
no.
but I did make merch for it. And I've sold quite a few hoodies, which was lovely.
Nice.
But it's funny because, of course, there's always going to be people who go, oh, she's on the grift again.
She's
I'm
grifting.
like, what? How is it grifting if I am showing up every day, either on Instagram, on X, or here on this podcast?
Yeah.
I'm building an audience and I'm putting in the work, and then I create a product that people either decide that they like or they don't like.
Oh,
if you don't like it...
Clearly Kmart are grifting all day, every day. Look at all those products that they've got there. And
weird.
you know why Kmart offer you those things for sale? It's because they want your money. They are grifters. It's disgusting. This shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
And you know what as well? I mean, the fact that you put out all of your content for people to watch completely for free, and people can even comment and engage with you and take some of your time completely for free, and people can send you messages and you'll read them and sometimes you'll reply to them completely for free. And then you give people the choice, if they see value in it, to pay you some money in return for a product. You are the devil personified.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I'm going to plug myself quickly because you plug yourself all the time. But I made these fun hoodies and sweatshirts. And I put up a couple of options. And I was like, how cheeky can I be?
Right.
So the first one, I'll just pick this sweater, for example.
Just pick the poop-coloured one, yep.
It's brown. No, you know what? I knew this. I made neutral, even though I'm not a neutral girly, and this one has sold the most. See, I understand the market. I'm smart. So it says "Make art, not content," and it has like a little blurb from my expertise.
Okay, that's a great slogan.
Yeah, make art,
for
not
you
content.
and for you. That is well done. That is a great slogan.
And I have to read it on here because I can't actually read what I wrote because it's too small. But this is just like a little caption from my. Oh, come on, stop it. Sorry, guys. Painful, I know. This is a line from my exegesis. We stitched ourselves into symmetry and unpicked ourselves in the process. The real rebellion now is keeping the face you were born with.
Wow.
Yeah, it's profound. And then this one, I was like, how cheeky can I be? And people loved it.
This hoodie is funding a rebellion.
And then it says the same quote. We've stitched ourselves into symmetry and unpicked ourselves in the process. And then it says, Chimera is a mirror held up to a culture that edits itself into extension, a portrait of the moment we traded our differences for digital perfection and the rebellion that comes from keeping what makes us rare.
Every culture breeds its own counterculture. You, I suspect, are taking a leadership position in the rising counterculture.
Devil that I am. So, and I was like, this hoodie is funding rebellion. I was like, yeah, what are you going to say about that, trolls?
That is a great, that's two great, you're 2 from 2.
Yeah, I was like, this is brilliant. So my trolls are like, she's using the hoodies to fund it. It's like, it literally says it on the hoodie.
Yeah. You cannot pretend that the people buying the hoodie are being hoodwinked because it's literally on the hoodie.
They literally know. So you're welcome, guys.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Make art, not content. Yeah.
I thought that was clever.
Okay, I can see why they're selling well.
Yeah.
And where can people find them?
They can find them on my website at www.carlsjsoda. I will link it below.
Yeah, make sure you do.
But fun. Get behind the rebellion.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. I should get you to do some designs for me sometime.
All right. Anything else?
No, we got to get out of here.
I've got to go get a coffee.
Follow me at Topher Field. Follow you
at Carl's J Soda.
Follow the Oddcast, the Oddcast HQ.
We've got 20. Is it, how are
2,500.
2,500 and 29.
Like 20 or something. Yeah, 30. Yep. No,
Guys,
we are growing.
You
and
like
last
us.
week's episode had the most downloads on the podcast platforms for its first week of any episode.
Yes.
Yep.
Last week's episode went off.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Good stuff. Thank you, everybody.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing the podcast because you should share it and tell people about it. And I'm sorry, this one was a bit heavy. That was not intended, but I guess that's the news cycle. We
will make an effort next week to have a funny, fun one. Do more laughies.
Well, someone needs to do something funny. To be fair, we did start the podcast with my fly undone. So
and we
you're
completely never got to the Only in Victoria segment. So we're going to have to work on that and build on that and get to that next week.
We should plan that better.
Yeah.
So guys, if you haven't already, and you can probably put one in the comments, Topher and I want to do this challenge where we make statements that start with Only in Victoria.
And it's like a try not to laugh kind of thing.
We were going to do it where you like have to hold water in your cheeks.
Mouth, and we get it all over your laptop.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like, actually, hang on. I don't know. We have to wear like a bib. So anyway, goodbye.
Thanks for watching.
Go away.
Bye.